Chapter 1240. Night Wandering Love. In just 6 hours, he had collected 10 hearts of imperial power. This was a great harvest for Zhuoan. Through the communication Jade Charm, the Lord of Grand Demon seemed to have collected 3 hearts of imperial power. Luo Hantian was unlucky. The 4 of them had only collected 2 hearts of imperial power. Lv Yitao, Qing Lian, and Luo Xing all needed hearts of imperial power. Hence, Zhuoan planned to give them 1 heart of imperial power. After all, it would not be easy for him to break through to the imperial power realm. Furthermore, it would take a lot of time. He was not in a hurry. Let's gather the Buddha and Demon Dao doppelganger first. Zhuoan stood quietly in the void. His eyes were shining. Just as he was about to gather the 2 doppelgangers, his gaze fell on a group of buildings below. There was also a group of warriors gathered in the group of buildings. There was a similar temple in the middle of the group. The reason why Zhuoan's attention was attracted to the similar temple was because there were several figures standing opposite each other in the open space outside the temple. These figures were faintly divided into 2 factions. One of the factions was led by a beautiful lady with a graceful figure and a zither in her hand. Behind her, there were 4 figures, 2 men and 2 women. The beautiful lady with the zither stared coldly at the group of people in front of her. Or rather, it would be more accurate to say that there was a young man with green eyes at the head of the group of people in front of her. I did not expect that night wandering love from the Night Monster Island would arrive. Although Moyan Wushang is the granddaughter of Mo Yang by Yang, he is not by her side. I'm afraid that night wandering love will act recklessly. If Moyan Wushang is tactful enough to hand over the heart of imperial power, perhaps night wandering love will not do anything to him on account of his identity. If she doesn't hand it over, it's hard to imagine what she'll do with her personality. Many martial artists looked at the young man with bewitching eyes, their eyes filled with fear. Yi Yuqing was very famous in the Bitter Sea. Not only was he the son of a demon emperor, Yi Wuxin, but his talent was also extremely terrifying. He was already a 1st-level demon emperor and had once killed a 2nd-level demon emperor. He was famous for his ferocity. Yi Yuqing wasn't very famous before he ascended. He was even weaker than Xie Yu and Yama Crown Prince on Azura Island. However, with Yi Wuxin's help, his battle prowess became even more terrifying. He even killed a 2nd-layer Great Emperor to establish his prestige. Moreover, after advancing to the Demon Emperor realm, Nocturnal Love's behavior had also become unscrupulous. No matter what your identity was, he would dare to kill you. Therefore, this guy's ferocious reputation in the Misery Sea was extremely great. Miss Moyan, my patience is very limited. It wasn't easy for me to find this temple, but you beat me to it and seized the heart of imperial power. Don't you think you should return it to me? Yi Yuqing said with an evil and cold aura. Yi Yuqing, you bastard, do you have any shame? Obviously, this heart of the imperial power was obtained by us with great effort. You want us to hand it over? How can it be so easy? Moyan Wushang said coldly. Yi Yuqing's smile became even more brilliant. You don't want to hand it over? I have plenty of ways to make you hand it over. After saying that, Yi Yuqing ordered more than 10 of his subordinates behind him. You guys capture the 4 people behind Moyan Wushang. I'll teach Miss Mo Yang a lesson. Hee. The subordinates behind Yi Yuqing nodded and rushed out. They surrounded Qingyin, Jianan, Gatha, and Mo Lingtian behind Moyan Wushang. It had to be said that these subordinates of the Night Demon Island were not mediocre. Each of them had the strength of a peak heavenly master. Despicable. Moyan Wushang shouted. Her jade-like hand suddenly pulled on the zither. The sound of the zither spread out like a monstrous tsunami. The sound of the zither contained a terrifying murderous intent, causing the whole area to be filled with murderous intent. The nearby warriors' faces changed. Under the influence of the murderous sound, they were forced to retreat. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. The moment Moyan Wushang plucked the zither, Qingyin, who was surrounded, also used her armor soul. Her armor soul was a zither. Her slender jade-like hand suddenly plucked the strings of the zither. The murderous sound burst out and merged with Moyan Wushang's sound wave. Suddenly, The power of the sound wave increased by 1,000 times. The murderous sound spread out in the form of a ring. It affected more than 10 warriors of the Night Demon Island, causing their pupils to shrink. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying. They heavily smashed into the ground more than 10 meters away. The dull sound of their bodies falling to the ground echoed in everyone's heart like an echo. So strong. Looking at more than 10 warriors of the Night Demon Island who were repelled in an instant, many warriors in the surroundings exclaimed in a low voice. Qingyin and Moyan Wushang were monstrous geniuses of the excellent God Academy. Although their cultivation was at the peak Heavenly Master realm, their battle strength was close to the first-level Emperor realm. It was naturally easy for them to repel more than 10 ordinary peak Heavenly Masters of the Night Demon Island. Yi Yuqing licked his lips and said with a smile, worthy of being called the geniuses of the excellent God Island. However, I wonder if you can still be so insufferably strong when facing me. As he spoke, Yi Yuqing took a step forward and flew out like a rock spreading its wings. His right hand clenched in the air and a snake-shaped spear that was emitting green light appeared in his palm. Surrounding the snake-shaped spear was a green python. Its ferocious tongue was sticking out and it looked extremely terrifying. Qingyin, help me. Moyan Wushang's beautiful eyes were filled with a dignified expression. He instructed Qingyin, who was behind him. Her slender jade-like hand stretched out and plucked the zither strings on the surface. The sound of killing gushed out. Qingyin did not dare to be negligent. She held the zither in her hand and plucked it out. The two sounds of killing converged together and formed a sound wave dragon. It whistled towards Yi Yuqing in the sky. Yi Yuqing was awe-inspiring and fearless. The snake-shaped spear in his hand stopped. His waist twisted and his whole body spun like a hurricane. At the tip of the snake-shaped spear, an extremely fierce green light gushed out. The green light burst out and turned into a green python, rushing towards the sound wave dragon below. Boom! As the serpents and dragons intertwined, an extremely tragic sound of collision immediately erupted. It was like a deafening explosion. The two serpents and dragons' huge bodies continued to fight in the air, causing invisible energy ripples to spread out in the air. Break! Yi Yuqing descended from the sky. The snake-shaped spear smashed down fiercely. A terrifying force filled the air, causing invisible ripples to appear in the space. Suddenly, the sound wave dragon let out a sorrowful cry and shattered into pieces. Puff! The sound wave dragon was broken. Moyan Wushang and Qingyin spurted out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Their eyes were filled with fear. Yi Yuqing was indeed a first-level demon emperor. His fighting strength was so terrifying that he could easily break their joint attack. Yi Yuqing's momentum did not decrease. He held the snake-shaped spear and shot out again. His target was Moyan Wushang. After all, the imperial heart was in Moyan Wushang's hands. Looking at Yi Yuqing, Moyan Wushang's beautiful eyes slightly changed. She wanted to dodge. Unfortunately, Yi Yuqing's attack had caused her to suffer a serious internal injury. At this moment, her reaction was much slower than before. In an instant, Yi Yuqing was in front of her. Sister Wushang, dodge. A slightly childish voice rang out. Then, Jianan came out of nowhere and crashed into Moyan Wushang's body. Moyan Wushang's body could not help but fall to one side, just in time to dodge Yi Yuqing's attack. Yi Yuqing stared coldly at Jianan, who was causing trouble in front of him. He said coldly, "You are courting death." After saying that, Yi Yuqing threw the snake-shaped spear in his hand and mercilessly hit Jianan's body. With his strength as a first-level demon emperor, this attack was completely capable of killing this brat, who was only at the peak of the golden venerable realm. Boom! Sure enough, Jianan was sent flying by Yi Yuqing's attack without exception. He spat out a mouthful of blood and heavily smashed into the ground not far away. However, Yi Yuqing was puzzled by the fact that Jianan actually didn't die. Instead, he struggled on the ground for a moment before actually jumping up. Is this brat a freak? His cultivation is at the peak of the golden venerable realm. Under Yi Yuqing's attack, he actually did not die. Many warriors in the surroundings looked at Jianan, who was struggling to get up, as if they were looking at a freak. At the same time, whispers could be heard from the surroundings. Yi Yuqing was also a little surprised, especially when he heard the discussions of the surrounding people. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He coldly snorted, stepped out, and suddenly rushed out. He gave up on Mo Yang of Wushang and rushed towards Canaan again. To think that he, a demon emperor, could not kill a peak of the golden venerable realm warrior. This was really damaging to his reputation as a demon emperor. Brother. Looking at Yi Yuqing rushing towards Jianan again, Gatha, who was not far away, had a slight change in her expression. Although she knew that Jianan had the undying armor soul and had an extremely strong recovery ability, it did not mean that he could not die. If Jianan was hit by a terrifying attack, his undying armor soul would be useless. At that time, he would really die. Without any hesitation, Gatha immediately used the Heaven's Wrath armor soul. A terrifying snowstorm surged out, and a hazy tall figure appeared in the snowstorm. If one looked carefully, one could see that the figure's hands and feet were tied with chains. It looked extremely strange. As soon as the Heaven's Wrath armor soul appeared, it rushed out under Gatha's instructions and blocked in front of Jianan. Get lost. Chapter 1241. Demonic Transformation. What kind of armor soul is this? Yi Yuqing's eyes shrunk to the size of needles. He stared intently at the partially visible figure in the snowstorm. The Heaven's Wrath armor spirit actually gave him a sense of danger. Although it was only a little, it was enough to cause him to be stunned. After all, the owner of the Heaven's Wrath armor soul, Gatha, was only a heavenly sovereign. It was extremely rare for a heavenly sovereign to give him such a sense of danger. Clang! The sound of chains dancing could be heard as the figure in the snowstorm threw out a punch. Countless black chains swept out like pythons. In the middle of the black chains was a huge iron fist. Boom! When the punch landed on Yi Yuqing's snake-shaped spear, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Then, Yi Yuqing's pupils shrank as she retreated. Her hands, which were holding the snake-shaped spear, felt a faint numbness. With a punch, Shuebao's figure took a step forward. His fists were like a rainstorm, continuously pouring down on Yi Yuqing. His fists were like raindrops falling on Yi Yuqing's body, causing Yi Yuqing to retreat step by step. He seemed to be exhausted from running for his life. An uproar spread out in the surroundings. Everyone looked at the scene in shock. No one had expected that Yi Yuqing, a first-level demon emperor, would be suppressed. It was truly inconceivable. Moyan Wushang and Qingyin looked at the Heaven's Wrath armor soul with their eyes bulging. They were stunned. Previously, Zhuowen had asked them to take care of Jianan and Gatha, and they had done it. However, the two of them did not expect Jianan and Gatha to be so extraordinary. Putting aside the fact that Jianan had survived Yi Yuqing's attack, just the fact that Gatha had released this strange armor soul was enough to suppress Yi Yuqing was enough to shock the two of them. So strong. Moyan Wushang and Soft Note looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It was one thing for Zhuowen to be a freak, but to think that Canaan and Jasha, whom he had asked them to take care of, were also freaks. The two girls didn't know what to say. Is this the power of the Heaven's Wrath armor soul? Above the clouds, Zhuowen quietly looked down at the battle below, especially when he saw Yi Yuqing being suppressed by the Heaven's Wrath armor soul. His eyes were filled with shock. The Heaven's Wrath armor soul is an armor soul that is envied by the heavens. Its power is naturally extraordinary. Now, Gatha's cultivation is only at the heavenly venerable realm. If she can reach the sovereign realm, the power of her Heaven's Wrath armor soul will become even more terrifying. A first-level Great Emperor will have no problem fighting a middle-level Great Emperor. Xiao Hei's voice slowly rang in Zhuowen's mind. Xiao Hei's evaluation was not low. A first-level Great Emperor could fight a middle-level Great Emperor. This was definitely a peerless genius. Even if Zhuowen's demon doppelganger reached the first-level Great Emperor, he would not be able to fight a middle-level Great Emperor. Boy, don't be surprised. If your body successfully reaches the Emperor realm, in addition to the dragon skill that I have given you, your battle strength will definitely be more terrifying than Gatha's. Xiao Hei laughed. Can you fight against a high-level Great Emperor? Zhuowen asked out of the blue. Xiao Hei's voice was silent for a while. Then, he slowly said, can fight a 7th-level Great Emperor, hiss. Zhuoan could not help but gasp. A first-level Great Emperor could fight a seventh-level Great Emperor. Wasn't this too crazy? What kind of existence was Xiao He? How could he increase his battle strength so much? Of course, when he thought about how difficult it was for his body to advance, Zhuoan understood. As the saying goes, good preparation leads to good results. Zhuoan's body had been accumulating in the panicked Great World for 10 years and still could not advance to the sovereign realm. It was obvious that once he succeeded, his body's battle strength would be extremely terrifying. Yi Yuqing has not used his full strength yet. After all, this guy is a first-level Great Emperor. When he uses his full strength later, Gatha's Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul will probably be defeated. Xiao He suddenly said. Hearing this, Zhuoan's gaze returned to the battle below. He saw that the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul was suppressing Yi Yuqing to the point that he could not fight back. You've succeeded in infuriating me. Yi Yuqing roared angrily. The snake-shaped spear in his right hand suddenly flicked and neutralized the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul's attack. At the same time, he retreated dozens of steps and stared ferociously at the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul in front of him and Gatha, who was behind it. A strong killing intent burst out from his body. Demon change. Yi Yuqing formed a seal with both of his hands. Immediately, a sharp hissing sound was emitted from his body. Immediately, traces of green snake scales appeared on his cheeks and hands. Both of his eyes also surged with endless green light. Roar. The green light shot into the sky and turned into a huge green snake shadow. Then, Yi Yuqing took a step forward and stood on the head of the green snake. His eyes were filled with green light and he stared at the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul. Green snake. Kill it. Yi Yuqing stabbed the snake-shaped spear in his hand into the head of the green snake. Immediately, the huge green snake hissed and its eyes turned green. Then, its huge body burst out and rushed towards the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul. Boom. 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 The Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul was expressionless. It raised both of its hands and countless black chains surged out. They turned into a chain whirlwind and surrounded the green snake that was rushing over. Then, the chains shrunk and tied the snake up. Break. Yi Yuqing was expressionless as he spat out these words. Immediately, the green snake twisted its huge body and the chains on its body collapsed. It continued to fall without losing any momentum. Boom. The huge snake head was like 100,000 feet tall mountain. It smashed heavily on the body of the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul. However, the latter was not afraid. It pushed both of its hands forward and blocked the snake head in front of its hands. Then, it retreated dozens of steps under the huge force. Can you block it? Yi Yuqing's gaze was incomparably cold. Facing a heavenly venerable martial artist, he, Yi Yuqing, was actually forced to use his armor soul. This was an absolute humiliation to him, so he wanted to crush this heavenly scourge armor soul and annihilate it. As he spoke, Yi Yuqing stepped on the snake head and pulled out the snake-shaped spear. His entire body spun like a top and he dropped down. The spear in his hand turned into a green light and instantly pierced through the chest of the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul. The Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul was being suppressed by the green snake. Although it noticed the snake-shaped spear that was rushing towards it, it did not have any extra energy to block it. No. Gatha shouted. Her beautiful eyes were filled with panic. Ever since the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul had awakened, it had not said a word. However, it had been silently protecting her. Gatha had already developed a strong dependence on it. Now that Yi Yuqing's attack was coming, Gatha actually rushed out without any regard for her own safety. She wanted to block in front of the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul. Roar. When Gatha arrived in front of the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul, the emotionless figure in the snowstorm revealed a blazing light in its eyes. With a loud roar, the green snake actually retreated. Unfortunately, the snake-shaped spear was too fast. Even if the Heaven's Wrath Armor Soul suddenly unleashed an even stronger power than before, it was simply too late. In the past, it was always you who protected me. Now, it's my turn to protect you. Gatha turned around. Her beautiful eyes suddenly looked at the figure in the snowstorm behind her. A sweet smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She looked through the gaps in the snowstorm and saw the eyes of the figure in the snowstorm. At that moment, a trace of tears appeared in those eyes. "Girl, you're too impulsive." A soft sigh was heard. When the snake-shaped spear was about to descend in front of Gatha, a large halberd with blood-red light shot out and blocked the snake-shaped spear at the critical moment. Ding! The large halberd and the spear collided. The sound of metal clashing was accompanied by dazzling sparks that reverberated in the entire open space. After that, the snake-shaped spear flew out and was caught in Yi Youqing's hand. As for the large blood-red halberd, it was inserted into the ground in front of Gatha. It was like a blood-red tombstone that stood there quietly. "Who is it?" After retrieving the snake-shaped spear, Yi Youqing's pupils shrank. He couldn't help but shout. His eyes were filled with fear. To be able to block his attack so easily, the owner of the large blood-red halberd definitely wasn't simple. After hearing Yi Youqing's shout, the surrounding warriors also reacted. Their gazes first fell on the large blood-red halberd. Then, they looked around to find out who the owner of the large blood-red halberd was. Zhuowen. Moyan Wushang and Qingyin looked at the large blood-red halberd. Their beautiful eyes couldn't help but burst out with radiance as they muttered in a low voice. "Big brother Zhuowen." Jianan and Gatha also recognized the large blood-red halberd. Wasn't it the emperor weapon, Azura battle halberd, that Zhuowen used to challenge Evil Moon and Lan Ju when he was in the academy? Whoosh! A piercing sound rang out. Immediately, above the clouds, a young man who was as tall as a mountain suddenly fell. When he was about to land, his feet gently tapped on the air and firmly landed on the end of the Azura war halberd. He looked down at Yi Youqing in front of him from above. "Peak Heavenly Sovereign? Who are you?" Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Yi Youqing was startled at first. Then, he blurted out. Although the aura of the young man in front of him was only at the peak Heavenly Sovereign, he knew that the young man was definitely not simple from the fact that he could rely on the Azura battle halberd to send his snake-shaped spear flying. "Zhuowen of the Excellent Gods Academy?" Zhuowen said indifferently. You are Zhuowen?" Hearing this, Yi Youqing couldn't help but be startled. He narrowed his eyes. He had also heard of the rumors about Zhuowen. It was said that he was only at the peak Heavenly Sovereign, but he had consecutively challenged Diba, who was ranked second on the Outer Court Heavenly Sovereign list, and Evil Moon, who was ranked first. Chapter 1242. Yi Youqing's gaze became a little cautious as he recalled the various rumors about Zhuowen. He didn't underestimate Zhuowen because his cultivation was only at the peak Heavenly Master realm. "I didn't expect you to be Zhuowen. I heard that you defeated the genius of the inner courtyard, Lan Ju. Although Lan Ju's strength is not bad, there is still a gap between him and me. Therefore, I advise you to let Moyan Wushang hand over the heart of imperial power. I can completely forget about what happened before. I am doing this for your sake," Yi Youqing said lightly. Although he was quite afraid of Zhuowen, he wouldn't show weakness because of this. After all, he was a first-level demon emperor. In terms of strength, he was even stronger than Lan Ju. Although Zhuowen could defeat Lan Ju, it didn't mean that he could defeat him. Therefore, he made such a suggestion. "How many hearts of imperial power do you have?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Yi Youqing had been in this land for 3 days. Generally speaking, with his cultivation, he should have explored the endless ravine in the center of the land. However, he was the same as Zhuowen and stayed for 3 days. Zhuowen didn't believe that Yi Youqing had only found this temple in these 3 days. Yi Youqing's pupils shrank. He was quite surprised that Zhuowen could guess that he had other hearts of imperial power. After pondering for a moment, Yi Youqing said indifferently, "I have 5 hearts of imperial power. Why are you asking this? Don't tell me you want to rob me." Yi Youqing laughed as he said this. Although Zhuowen's combat strength was indeed good, there was still a gap between them. Therefore, he wasn't too worried that Zhuowen had the strength to rob him of the heart of imperial power. The surrounding warriors were all moved. They didn't expect Yi Youqing to have 5 hearts of imperial power. Many people cursed Yi Youqing in their hearts. He was really greedy, but they couldn't show it. After all, Yi Yuqing was a demon emperor and the son of the demon emperor Yi Wuxin. They couldn't afford to offend him. You are right. I do plan to rob you of the 5 hearts of imperial power. Zhuowen nodded seriously. As soon as Zhuowen said this, the smile on Yi Yuqing's face immediately stiffened. The surrounding cultivators also rolled their dead fish eyes. The atmosphere suddenly became silent. This Zhuowen really dared to boast. He actually dared to say that he would snatch Yi Yuqing's heart of imperial power in front of him. Yi Yuqing's smile faded and his voice became extremely cold. Yes. Zhuowen spat out this word. His entire body moved like lightning. His right hand pulled out the Azura war halberd from under his feet. Immediately, he stepped into the void and his entire body shot to the extreme. In an instant, he was in front of Yi Yuqing. Yi Yuqing's gaze was extremely cold. He had already given Zhuowen enough face. However, this Zhuowen didn't give him any face at all. Thus, he couldn't blame him for being ruthless. Ha! Yi Yuqing shouted loudly, and the huge green snake below him roared towards the sky. The huge snake head swooped down, rushing towards Zhuowen. It opened its bloody mouth, and a fishy smell spread out, causing many warriors in the surroundings to frown. Zhuowen stood proudly with the Azura war halberd in his hand. His left hand had taken out a black round stone. This round stone was the immortal stone he had obtained from the Azura Island auction. Because the array in the immortal stone was incomplete, it could only be used once a day. Later, when Zhuowen was in the panicked Great World, because he had dispelled the fallen demon powder, it had triggered the self-repair of the array in the immortal stone. Now, it could be used 10 times a day, and its power was much stronger than before. The mental strength in Zhuowen's Niwen Palace and the Yuan power in his Dantian suddenly gushed out and drilled into the immortal stone. The 2 different energies combined under the immortal stone's array to form an extremely terrifying immortal power. Waves of immortal power poured into the Azura war halberd, causing the surface of the Azura war halberd to be filled with a blazing white light. Then, Zhuowen's legs suddenly bounced, and his entire body rushed out like a vigorous monkey. The moment he was in front of the green snake's head, the Azura war halberd slashed out horizontally. The move was very simple, and it was not fancy at all. However, the next moment, the scene that appeared shocked all the surrounding warriors. The moment the green snake's head came into contact with the Azura war halberd, it shattered into pieces and turned into a headless snake. Yi Yuqing, who was originally standing on the snake's head, narrowed his eyes and retreated dozens of steps, his heart thumping wildly. The green snake was the manifestation of his armor soul. The moment it came into contact with Zhuowen, its head was cut off. This was too unbelievable. Whoosh! The moment the green snake was cut off, Zhuowen stepped on the void and rushed out again, directly toward Yi Yuqing, who was retreating. This guy! Yi Yuqing shouted in a low voice, and the snake-shaped spear swept out. The blazing green light spread around his body, as if there was an endless green bamboo forest around him. Break! Zhuowen spat out this word calmly, and then instantly brushed past Yi Yuqing's shoulder. The celestial power in his body was injected into the Azura war halberd, causing the Azura war halberd to burst out with an unprecedented light. Then, the surrounding people were shocked to find that the green light around Yi Yuqing's body was instantly destroyed. A muffled groan came from the void, and then everyone saw an extremely miserable figure falling from the void, heavily smashing onto the ground, causing a lot of dust to rise. Whoosh! 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 Everyone's gaze converged, and then they saw that the miserable figure was the demon emperor, Yi Yuqing. At this moment, Yi Yuqing's condition was not very good. His face was pale and weak, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Although his body was generally much stronger after the demon transformation, he could not withstand the terrifying power of the celestial power. Celestial power was a powerful energy that was superior to origin energy and mental energy. The celestial power combined with the emperor weapon, Zhuowen's combat strength was not comparable to Yi Yuqing, a first-level demon emperor. Therefore, the moment the two collided, Yi Yuqing was defeated. He defeated Yi Yuqing in one move. Isn't this Zhuowen a little too terrifying? Looking at this scene, many of the surrounding warriors did not even react. Although they knew that Zhuowen's strength could not be described by the standard of a peak heavenly master, Yi Yuqing was a first-level demon emperor expert. Such an existence could even kill a second-level emperor. But now, facing Zhuowen, he was defeated in one move. Wasn't this a little too unbelievable? Moyan Wushang and Qing Yin were also stunned. This scene had a deep impact on them. Although they knew that Zhuowen's combat strength was at the emperor realm, it was really beyond their expectations to defeat Yi Yuqing so easily. As for Jianan, Gatha, and Mo Lingtian, the three of them were originally blindly confident in Zhuowen. Instead, they were the calmest among the crowd. Thud. 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 Zhuowen slowly landed on the ground and immediately walked towards Yi Yuqing, who was in the pit. His indifferent voice rang out, "Hand over the imperial power heart." Arriving in front of Yi Yuqing, Zhuowen slowly held out the Azura war halberd in his hand and pressed it against Yi Yuqing's throat. His voice was filled with coldness and killing intent, as if he could kill Yi Yuqing at any time. And the fact was indeed so. Zhuowen only needed a thought, and the Azura war halberd would take Yi Yuqing's life. Gulp. Yi Yuqing's throat trembled and his body trembled. He could feel a cold killing intent from Zhuowen's eyes. He knew that the young man in front of him was a man of his words. If he did not hand over the imperial power heart, he would probably die. "If I hand over the imperial power heart, you have to let me go." Yi Yuqing's eyes flickered as he said. Zhuowen nodded and said, "Of course." After getting Zhuowen's promise, Yi Yuqing flicked his finger and took out 5 imperial power hearts and handed them over to Zhuowen. The latter naturally kept them in the spiritual ring without any hesitation. The corner of his mouth revealed a smile. This was an unexpected gain for him. "Get lost." Putting away the Azura war halberd, Zhuowen indifferently shouted at Yi Yuqing. Yi Yuqing's face slightly changed as he looked at Zhuowen with resentment. Then, he took a step forward and left with his subordinates from the Night Demon Island. "Zhuowen, are you going to let Yi Yuqing go just like that? This guy is a poisonous snake. If you let the tiger return to the mountain, he might come after you in the future." Moyan Wushang came to Zhuowen's side and said with his beautiful eyes flickering, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Moreover, Yi Yuqing is Yi Wuxin's son. I'm afraid that he has some life-saving means. If I kill Yi Yuqing, it will be more troublesome. At that time, Yi Wuxin might go all out to find me." Zhuowen shook his head. He did not care about Yi Yuqing. He was still afraid of Yi Wuxin. Yi Wuxin was a 4th heaven demon emperor. Because he was a demon emperor, his battle strength was comparable to a 5th heaven demon emperor. He was even stronger than an ordinary 5th heaven demon emperor. Even Zhuowen's demon Dao doppelganger would be extremely troublesome to deal with such an existence. Therefore, killing Yi Yuqing would definitely do more harm than good. It was an unwise action. "You're right. I was a little impulsive." Moyan Wushang looked relieved. Zhuowen was right. Yi Yuqing was Yi Wuxin's only son. Before entering the monarch tomb, Yi Wuxin must have made a lot of preparations. If he killed Yi Yuqing, Yi Wuxin would soon know. At that time, Zhuowen would have to face Yi Wuxin's crazy pursuit. The gains would not make up for the losses. And now, Zhuowen had only snatched 5 hearts of imperial power from Yi Yuqing. In addition, they were students of the Divine Institute. With the existence of the Dean, Yi Wuxin couldn't do anything to Zhuowen over such a small matter. Otherwise, the Dean wouldn't just sit and watch. "Wushang, how many hearts of imperial power did you guys get?" Zhuowen suddenly asked. Moyan Wushang and Qing Yin looked at each other and smiled. "We found 3 hearts of imperial power. Because there are 5 of us, we are still missing 2. Chapter 1243. Soul-extinguishing array. Moyan Wushang was not too courteous. He smiled and accepted the 2 hearts of imperial power from Zhuowen. After all, Zhuowen had more hearts of imperial power than any of them. Giving him 2 hearts of imperial power was nothing to him. After Moyan Wushang accepted the hearts of imperial power, he distributed the 5 hearts of imperial power to himself, Qing Yin, Jianan, Gatha and Mo Lingtian. After the 5 of them received the hearts of imperial power, their eyes were filled with excitement. The hearts of imperial power were extremely important to warriors below the Emperor realm. It could greatly increase their chances of advancing to the Emperor realm. They could even directly advance to the Emperor realm. The benefits were extremely great. Rumble. Suddenly, a terrifying tremor spread across the land. Zhuo Wen, Mo Yang Wushang and the others couldn't help but stagger under the effect of the tremor. Then, their eyes fell on the huge gully in the middle of the land. Above the gully, countless figures covered the sky like locusts. Upon closer inspection, they were all warriors who were planning to enter the gully to search for treasures. At this moment, dense black clouds continued to gather above the gully. Soon after, these black clouds began to slowly descend in a spiraling manner. A terrifying howl was emitted from the black clouds. An incomparably large pitch-black figure slowly stepped out from within the hazy black clouds. Ah! A blood-curdling scream suddenly rang out as a gigantic palm stretched out from the black clouds. It swept out violently, causing a violent gust of wind to howl. Immediately, the martial artists who were close to it were directly struck by the gigantic palm and were instantly annihilated. Wherever this palm passed, a violent hurricane would sweep out. Under the effect of this hurricane, the surrounding cultivators all spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying backwards. What is that? Looking at the gigantic figure in the terrifying black clouds, Zhuowen, Moyan Wushang and the others were shocked. Although they were quite far away from the black figure, the pressure that was emitted from the latter's body gave them a feeling of fear and trepidation. You guys stay here first. I will go over there and take a look. Zhuowen instructed Moyan Wushang and the others. Then, he took a step forward and flew towards the gully in front of him. Looking at Zhuowen's back, Moyan Wushang also wanted to follow him. However, they all knew that their strength was too low. They would only become cannon fodder if they went over. In the air, Zhuowen called back his Buddha doppelganger. As for his demon doppelganger, he flew towards the gully together with Tai Demon Lord. Brother Han Tian. On the way there, Zhuowen's life studio met Lun Wushang and Lu Hantian and the other two. Lun's studio. And the other. Lu Hantian, studio, and Lun Life Studio, Lun and Lun. Itao, Luo Xing, Qing Lian, you guys stay here first. Brother Han Tian and I will go to the gully to investigate. This is the heart of imperial power. The three of you should still be lacking a heart of imperial power. You can find a safe place and refine the heart of imperial power. Then, you should be able to advance to the imperial power level in a short time. Zhuowen instructed them. Then, he headed towards the gully with Lu Hantian. Lun Wushang and the others looked at each other. They did not follow them impulsively. The black figure above the gully was extremely terrifying. Even if they were peak heavenly venerables, they would probably be slapped to death. Such an existence was not something that heavenly venerables like them could interfere with. Whoosh whoosh. Very quickly, Zhuowen and Lu Hantian arrived in the vicinity of the gully. The two of them raised their heads and looked up. They just happened to see the huge black cloud in the sky, as well as the faintly discernible terrifying shadow within the black cloud. Through the hazy black cloud, Zhuowen saw the silhouette of the shadow. He discovered that the shadow's appearance was extremely similar to some kind of insect. Its surface was covered with a hard shell that was extremely bright. Its head was extremely similar to a praying mantis's, and its pair of compound eyes contained countless small eyes. It looked densely packed, causing people to feel a chill all over their bodies. A pair of huge palms, the surface of which was covered with bumpy shells. Many of the surrounding martial warriors had already joined forces. They were releasing their yuan power from afar, attacking this strange creature from afar. What is this? Is it an origin beast? But its aura doesn't seem like it at all. Lu Hantian narrowed his eyes as he stared at the faintly discernible creature in the black cloud in confusion. Zhuowen's gaze also became extremely grave. He could not identify what kind of creature this insect-like thing was. Its aura was fundamentally different from a meta-beast's, but its aura gave him a vague sense of great danger. It was as if he would die a horrible death if he faced this creature. On the other side, demonic clouds rolled over, and two figures with monstrous demonic chi appeared. Zhuo Wen of the demonic Tao narrowed his eyes as he stared at the figure in the black clouds. He said to the Grand Demon Lord beside him, "Grand Demon, do you know what this is?" At that moment, the Grand Demon Lord's eyes were filled with doubt. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Master, I don't recognize this strange creature either. I've never seen such a creature in the panicked great world." "Is that so?" Zhuo Wen's eyes flickered, but he was somewhat disappointed in his heart. However, he quickly thought of Xiao Hei and hurriedly called out to Xiao Hei in his heart. However, to his surprise, no matter how he called out to Xiao Hei did not make a single sound. "What's wrong with Xiao Hei? Is she pretending to be dead?" Zhuowen was stunned. He called out again, unwilling to give up. However, the result remained the same. Xiao Hei did not respond. With a soft sigh, Zhuowen gave up on asking Xiao Hei. Instead, his eyes landed on the black cloud. This was because he saw a few familiar groups in front of the black cloud. Among them, Master Mu Feng led Mo Yang, Bai Yang and Elder Huaxia as they quietly hovered a short distance away. On the other hand, the people from the Night Demon Island, Horizon Island, Azura Island and Sea Heart Island were scattered near Master Mu Feng. They did not move. They only quietly stared at the black cloud above the gully, as if they were waiting for something. Around an hour later, the black cloud gradually withdrew. The strange creature hidden in the black cloud seemed to have evaporated into thin air, disappearing from everyone's sight. How strange. Zhuowen frowned when he saw this scene. He felt even more puzzled in his heart. This strange creature had appeared for a while and then disappeared. It was indeed a little strange. However, Zhuowen was extremely curious about that creature. Did Master Mu Feng and the others know that the creature will only appear briefly? Zhuowen's gaze landed on Master Mu Feng as he frowned. He was increasingly unable to see through Master Mu Feng. Grandmaster Mu Feng is truly a genius. That creature only appeared for half an hour before it completely disappeared. Wu Xin is truly convinced. Yi Wu Xin of the Night Demon Island suddenly laughed. He cupped his hands towards Grandmaster Mu Feng and said with a smile. The other three island masters also revealed fawning expressions. From Master Mu Feng's performance, they knew that they had to hug Master Mu Feng's thigh if they wanted to obtain good things in the Emperor's tomb. After all, Master Mu Feng seemed to have a better understanding of the Emperor's tomb than they did. Although they were somewhat puzzled as to why Master Mu Feng had such a deep understanding of the Emperor's tomb, they did not think too much about it. After all, they had come here for the rare treasures in the Emperor's tomb. If they could obtain rare treasures by following Master Mu Feng, why wouldn't they do so? Why would they bother about such things? Master Mu Feng faintly smiled. He did not show any complacency because of the fawning expressions of Yi Wu Xin and the others. Instead, his gaze was extremely calm. This gully is the true core region of the Emperor's tomb. Countless Emperor realm cultivators are buried here. Of course, there are also many powerful Emperor weapons, secret techniques, and rare treasures. If you are lucky enough, you might be able to obtain the treasures inside. Master Mu Feng spoke once again. As soon as Master Mu Feng spoke, countless cultivators in the surroundings went crazy. They did not even wait for Master Mu Feng to finish speaking and directly entered the depths of the gully. Of course, not long after these impatient cultivators entered the gully, extremely frightening screams rang out one after another. After which, they completely lost all signs of life. However, there's a powerful formation inside the gorge. It's called the Soul Destruction Formation. If anyone who's below the mid-level martial emperor realm enters it blindly, they'll definitely die, Master Mu Feng continued. At this moment, the other cultivators who had originally planned to enter the gully felt their hearts turn cold. Wasn't Master Mu Feng trying to scam them? He actually only said half a sentence. After a group of people had died, he only said the second half of the sentence. It was obvious that he was trying to scam those impatient cultivators. Soul extinguishing array? Master, do you have a way to solve it? Yi Wu Xin frowned slightly and asked in a slightly surprised manner. Master Mu Feng nodded and said, of course there is. If you want to break this soul extinguishing array, it can be said to be simple, but it can also be said to be quite complicated. Breaking the soul-extinguishing array requires 10 mid-level Emperor Realm cultivators to stand in 10 different positions and form the 10-direction annihilation array. Using brute force, you can forcefully break the soul-extinguishing array. Yi Wuxin and the other higher-ups looked at each other. Soon after, they said in a deep voice, "Master Mu Feng, please tell us what to do. If we can break this soul-extinguishing array, we will do whatever you tell us to do. First, find 10 mid-level Emperor Realm cultivators." Master Mu Feng said indifferently. Yi Wuxin nodded and discussed with the other 3 islands. Soon after, he said, "Our 4 islands can provide 8 mid-level Emperor Realm cultivators. The remaining 2 mid-level Emperor Realm cultivators will be given to your excellent God Island." Master Mu Feng nodded. Soon after, he said to Mo Yang, Bai Yang and Elder Huaxia, "The 2 of you, come up here and make it a round number." Mo Yang, Bai Yang and Elder Huaxia looked at each other and nodded. They didn't reject Master Mu Feng's suggestion. After all, below the soul-extinguishing array was the true Emperor Realm tomb. There must be many rare treasures inside. The 2 of them naturally wanted to see the true appearance of the Emperor Realm tomb. Chapter 1244. Strange Black Chi. I will be the core of the 10-direction annihilation array and all of you will be the foundation of the array. Take these 10 yuan crystals in your hands and distribute them at 10 different locations around the gully. I will guide all of you to complete the 10-direction annihilation array from the sky above the gully. Master Mu Feng waved his sleeve as he spoke. 10 pitch-black yuan crystals flew out from his sleeves and headed towards Elder Huaxia, Yi Wuxin, and the rest of the 10 intermediate DI level practitioners. The 10 of them kept the yuan crystals and nodded towards Master Mu Feng. Then, they rushed forward and stood at 10 different locations around the gully. Their eyes quietly focused on Master Mu Feng as they waited for the latter to unleash the 10-direction annihilation array. Master Mu Feng took a step forward and rushed to the sky above the center of the gully. His sharp eyes quietly looked down at the gully. Following Master Mu Feng's line of sight, many people also threw their gazes towards the depths of the gully. Zhuoan was no exception. He saw that there was a churning black fog lingering in the depths of the gully. The strange thing was that this black fog would occasionally form countless human faces that whizzed in all directions. Mournful wails and howls filled the surrounding space. Is this the soul-extinguishing array that Master Mu Feng mentioned? Zhuo Wen's gaze turned grave as he looked at the howling black fog within the ravine. After all, he was a rank 6 Arcana Master. Just from the aura of the soul-destroying formation, he could tell that it was not weak at all. In fact, it could even be said to be very powerful. He clearly understood that if he were to barge into this soul-extinguishing array alone, it was likely that he would be doomed. At this moment, Master Mu Feng's hands continuously formed complicated seals. An invisible strange energy was transmitted from the seals formed by his hands. After which, he shouted, "Everyone, inject your energy into the yuan crystals. I will now set up the 10-direction annihilation array." Mo Yang, Bai Yang, Elder Huaxia, and the rest did not dare to be negligent. All of them followed Grandmaster Mu Feng's instructions. Their right hands formed into sword fingers and pressed on the yuan crystals in their palms. Immediately, an enormous amount of yuan power surged into the yuan crystals. Waves of energy spread in all directions. Soon after, the 10 yuan crystals shot out countless black threads. These black threads were like swimming snakes as they rushed toward Grandmaster Mu Feng at the center. Under the guidance of Grandmaster Mu Feng, they intertwined with each other in midair. Finally, they weaved into a black thread ball that was dozens of feet in size. On the surface of the black silk ball, waves of destructive power surged out, causing many of the surrounding warriors to be slightly moved. The black silk ball looked ordinary, but the destructive power that it revealed was extremely terrifying. "Destroy!" Grandmaster Mu Feng shouted in a low voice. His right hand formed into a claw and grabbed the black silk ball. After which, he violently pressed it downwards. The surface of the black silk ball emitted a strange zzz sound. Instantly, it was shot downwards by Grandmaster Mu Feng. At the instant when the black silk ball finally reached the soul annihilation array, the destructive power contained within it completely erupted. Instantly, the destructive power was like raindrops that filled the sky, instantly enveloping the soul annihilation array. Boom! 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 A monstrous explosion spread in all directions like a monstrous tsunami. The churning black fog within the soul-extinguishing array began to churn intensely. Countless human faces appeared. They bared their teeth and spat out a strange black energy. It was as though they were resisting this frightening destructive force. The cries of ghosts and howls of wolves were like a compressor, spreading around the entire gully and resounding in the ears of the surrounding people. It actually caused many warriors to feel pain in their eardrums, and they could not help but cover their ears with their hands. Some warriors with low cultivation almost fainted, and traces of blood flowed out of their ears. The destructive power of the 10-directional annihilation array was extremely terrifying. However, the soul annihilation array that existed within the ravine was even more terrifying. The two of them were in a deadlock in mid-air for a moment, with neither side giving way to the other. Grandmaster Mu Feng frowned slightly. He suddenly pressed down with his right hand. Tens of thousands of mental energy rushed out and gathered on the annihilation ball from all directions. Immediately, the ball of annihilation suddenly exploded. An even more frightening annihilation force spread out in a ring-shaped manner in all directions of the soul-extinguishing array. In the end, it created a continuous explosion sound. Boom! Boom! Under this even more intense destructive power, the surging black fog within the soul annihilation array finally showed signs of weakening. The countless human faces formed by the black fog started to explode under the corrosion of this destructive power. The entire soul annihilation array started to shake violently. Break! Grandmaster Mu Feng pressed down once again. An even more surging mental energy gushed out, causing the might of the 10-directional annihilation array to become even more terrifying under the amplification of his mental energy. In the end, cracks finally appeared on the surface of the soul annihilation array. Just like shattered glass, it completely shattered. The instant the soul annihilation array was destroyed, Zhuowen frowned. He discovered that a wisp of black qi was rising from the ravine below the soul annihilation array. This wisp of black qi was extremely fine. If one did not observe it carefully, it would be difficult to detect it. Zhuowen had to rely on his powerful mental energy to discover this wisp of black qi. However, the strange thing was that when this wisp of black qi rose to mid-air, it seemed to have evaporated from the world. Zhuowen had directly lost track of this wisp of black qi. What is that thing? Zhuowen frowned as he surveyed his surroundings. He discovered that no one had noticed the wisp of black qi that had swept out from the ravine. That was because everyone's attention was attracted by the ravine below. The surging black fog and the human faces that were formed by the black fog within the soul annihilation array had been completely destroyed. The ravine below the soul annihilation array was also visible to everyone. This ravine was extremely deep. Through the ravine, everyone could see the scene at the bottom of the ravine. The two sides of the ravine were formed by pitch-black rocks. The mottled patterns on the ravine showed the vicissitudes of the ravine. The scene at the bottom of the ravine caused many warriors to be stunned. That was because there were tombstones erected at the bottom of the ravine. Behind the tombstones were pieces of coffins. These coffins were made from black ironwood and were incomparably black. Furthermore, there were many similar coffins at the bottom of the ravine. They were densely packed together and almost filled the entire bottom of the ravine. Could it be that those coffins contain emperor corpses? Everyone's eyes were burning as they stared at the densely packed coffins at the bottom of the ravine below. One after another, they began to speculate. Their gazes turned from calm to fiery as if a ball of fire was burning within them. Didn't Master Mu Feng say that the core of the emperor's tomb was at the bottom of the ravine? Then these coffins should be the burial grounds of the emperor realm experts. This also meant that there must be a lot of resources of the Emperor Realm experts here. Perhaps, if one was lucky, one could obtain an Emperor weapon or even an inheritance. Of course, things like inheritances were naturally left behind by high-level Emperor Realm experts. As for mid-level and low-level Emperor Realm experts, even if they left behind their inheritances, the Emperor Realm experts present wouldn't be interested in them. Only those below the Emperor realm might be more interested in the inheritances of low-level and mid-level Emperor realm experts. The upper echelons of the 5 strongest islands, as well as the other Emperor realm experts in the Sea of Misery, were aiming for the inheritances of the high-level Emperor realm experts at the bottom of the ravine. It was said that the strongest expert in the Emperor realm was a half-saint existence. If they were lucky, they might be able to obtain the half-saint's inheritance. If they could really obtain the half-saint's inheritance, it would be a great opportunity for them. At this moment, Mo Yang, Bai Yang, Elder Huaxia, Yi Wuxin, and the others who were standing at 10 different corners of the ravine were also looking at the bottom of the ravine. Their gazes were also filled with fiery passion. Soon after, their gazes fell on Master Mu Feng. Master, there shouldn't be any other dangers at the bottom of the ravine, right? Yi Wuxin's throat moved as he asked. Master Mu Feng's face was expressionless as he said, I'm not too sure about this. However, the yuan crystals in the hands of the 10 of you contain the aura of destruction. It can destroy all techniques. It will be of great help to you when you enter the ravine. Hearing these words, the 10 of them looked at each other. However, they very consciously kept the yuan crystals in their hands. They had personally witnessed the might of the 10 directions destruction formation. Perhaps these yuan crystals were really like what Grandmaster Mu Feng had said and possessed the ability to destroy 10,000 techniques. Therefore, it might be quite beneficial for them as they charged through the gorge below. Let's go. Let's go down and take a look. Yi Wuxin shouted in a low voice. He took the lead and rushed into the ravine. The other 9 people looked at each other and followed closely behind Yi Wuxin. They turned into 9 bolts of lightning and entered the ravine. Master Mu Feng's eyes flickered. With a wave of his sleeve, he also disappeared from the sky above the ravine. Let's go. We'll go in as well. Seeing that Master Mu Feng and the rest had entered the bottom of the gully, quite a number of surrounding practitioners were unable to suppress the excitement in their hearts. One after another, they stepped into the air and rushed downwards. Immediately, the entire sky above the gully was filled with densely packed human figures. They were just like locusts, appearing extremely terrifying. Zhuowen, let's go in as well. Lu Hantian said to Zhuowen, who was beside him. Zhuowen nodded his head and said, Big brother Hantian, be careful when you enter this ravine. I can feel that this ravine isn't simple. There might be a trap even more terrifying than the soul-extinguishing array inside. Hearing his words, Lu Hantian's heart trembled. He had never doubted Zhuowen's words. Therefore, his heart was filled with vigilance. Soon after, the 2 of them followed the crowd and rushed into the ravine. Of course, the instant Zhuowen entered the ravine, he used the communication jade talisman to inform Moyan Wushang, LV Yatao, and the others to enter the ravine as well. Since the ravine contained the inheritance of many Emperor Realm cultivators, it would definitely be of great help to those who had yet to enter the Emperor Realm. At the same time, Zhuowen also informed the Grand Devil Lord to wait for Moyan Wushang and the others outside the ravine. He could protect them from any life-threatening dangers in the ravine. Chapter 1245. Emperor Corpse. This wisp of black gas was extremely illusory, as if it did not exist. When the black gas rose to the highest point in the sky, the wisp of black gas wriggled and turned into a strange human figure. The appearance of this humanoid figure was very similar to an insect. Its entire body was covered in a thick and sturdy carapace, and its pair of compound eyes contained countless small eyes. It looked extremely strange. If anyone saw this strange humanoid figure, they would definitely recognize that it was the strange monster that had appeared briefly in the dark clouds in the gully just now. The strange human figure silently looked down at the depths of the gully, its compound eyes revealing a strange expression. Swoosh, swoosh. At the same time, the martial warriors clashed with their swords because of the coffin. The sound of metal clashing was accompanied by sharp screams, which converged together at the bottom of the ravine. The smell of blood permeated the air from the battle. Zhuowen and Lu Hantian also arrived at a coffin. During this time, there were naturally many cultivators who did not know better. They tried to bully the 2 of them, trying to seize control of the coffins beside them. However, after Lu Hantian released the aura of a 3rd Heaven Emperor, Many of the surrounding cultivators slowly trembled in fear. They did not dare to offend Zhuowen and Lu Hantian anymore. There are about a few hundred of these coffins in this area. Are they all emperor corpses? Lu Hantian narrowed his eyes and asked doubtfully. Creak. Suddenly, the sound of a mechanism turning slowly rang out. Immediately, the hundreds of coffin lids at the bottom of the gully opened at the same time. A strange black gas permeated out. What's going on? Zhuowen was stunned. He looked at the phenomenon of the coffins opening by themselves in surprise. Many other cultivators who entered the gully had the same doubts as Zhuowen. They did not understand. They had not touched these coffins yet, so why did they open by themselves? Awoo! A mournful howl suddenly rang out in the gully. It sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. It was exceptionally frightening. Boom! The coffin in front of Zhuowen and Lu Hantian was suddenly opened. Then, a smelly arm stretched out from within the darkness. A thick corpse qi, which gave off a nauseating feeling. Then, Zhuowen saw a swollen corpse slowly sitting up from within the coffin. The corpse's eyes were glowing with a strange red light. As soon as it appeared, it stared at Zhuowen and Lu Hantian. A monstrous killing intent firmly locked onto the two of them. It was not just Zhuowen and Lu Hantian's coffins. Similar things happened in the other coffins. Strange corpses sat up from the coffins one after another. Their eyes were red and filled with bloodthirsty auras. A blood-curdling scream suddenly rang out. The moment the coffin lid opened, the strange corpse in the coffin leaped up and rushed toward the nearest warrior. Its speed was as fast as lightning, and in an instant, it killed the warriors closest to it. After killing the cultivators, the corpses reached into the cultivators' bodies with their right hands, dug out their hearts, and swallowed them. Not sure if it was an illusion, Zhuowen discovered that after the corpses swallowed the cultivators' hearts, the auras on their bodies actually swelled. The originally shriveled corpses actually showed signs of being full. These corpses are absorbing the cultivator's energy. Lu Hantian's pupils shrank as he said in shock. Awoo! Suddenly, the corpse in front of Zhuowen and Lu Hantian roared. Its red eyes revealed a trace of greed as it rushed towards the two of them. Lu Hantian frowned slightly. With a shake of his sleeve, a terrifying cold air wrapped around the corpse like an ice blade, causing it to fly backwards and crash heavily into the coffin. These are all emperor corpses. Most of them are around the low-level emperor realm. Lu Hantian said in a deep voice. Zhuowen nodded, but he was very puzzled. Why would these emperor corpses that were buried here undergo such a strange change? Could it be that they had turned into corpses? Awoo! Another roar rang out. The emperor corpse that was sent flying by Lu Hantian stood up and rushed towards them again. Lu Hantian furrowed his brows and pinched the void with his right hand. Suddenly, a cold white star fell from the sky and heavily suppressed the emperor corpse. However, what surprised Lu Hantian was that the emperor corpse was extremely tough. Even when he used the full power of the star to suppress it, it could not cause any damage to its body. The emperor corpse was even struggling under the star, full of vigor and vitality. What a strong physical body. Although this emperor corpse is only at the first-level emperor realm, its physical body is probably not even a third-level emperor realm expert can destroy it. Lu Hantian muttered in a low voice. Most of the surrounding were peak heavenly venerables. After the initial panic, many peak heavenly venerables gathered together in groups of 3 to 5, blocking the emperor corpses that rushed out from the coffin. Although they were barely able to block the emperor corpses, at least the emperor corpses were unable to harm the peak heavenly venerables that had joined forces. Zhuowen's gaze fell on Master Mu Feng, who was not far away. After all, Master Mu Feng had said that the bottom of the gorge was the core of the emperor tomb. There were many inheritances left behind by fallen emperor realm experts. Now that something like this had happened, Master Mu Feng was the one with the biggest problem. When Zhuowen's gaze fell on Master Mu Feng, he discovered that Master Mu Feng also had a doubtful look on his face. It was as if he had never thought that such a situation would occur here. Master Mu Feng had gathered Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang, Bai Yang, and the mid-level great emperors from the other 4 islands. With their formation, the surrounding great emperors posed no threat to them at all. Even if some of the foolish great emperors tried to attack them, they would be swept out of the door. There was no way they could get close to them. Master Mu Feng, what's going on? Yi Wuxin asked in displeasure. As soon as Yi Wuxin's words came out, the others echoed in agreement, expressing the dissatisfaction in their hearts. After all, they did not enter this place to deal with the emperor corpses that were neither dead nor alive, but to explore the rich resources and treasures inside. This gorge is still very large. This is only a small area. This area should be the mechanism set up by the Emperor Tomb's creator, right? Master Mu Feng replied in an indifferent manner. Hearing Master Mu Feng's words, the dissatisfaction in the hearts of Yi Wuxin and the others gradually faded. Their gazes fell on the area in front of the coffin area. There was a hazy fog lingering in that area, and no one knew where it led to. Let's go in and take a look. Perhaps the good stuff is in the depths. Yi Wuxin suddenly said. The others nodded and did not have any objections. Soon after, the group broke through the air and left. The dozen of them could be considered the strongest group in the Emperor Tomb this time. Their cultivations were all mid-level Emperor realm and above. The Emperor corpses in this area were unable to do anything to them. Grandmaster Mu Feng's departure naturally attracted the attention of the other DI stage practitioners who were fighting with the Emperor corpses. Their eyes flickered as they abandoned the Emperor corpses they were fighting. Soon after, they rushed out and followed Grandmaster Mu Feng's group into the depths of the gully. There were at least 100 Emperor realm cultivators who came to the Emperor Tomb this time. Although they were all low-level Emperor realm cultivators, they were more than enough to deal with the Emperor corpses in this area. However, after the Emperor realm cultivators left, the pressure on the peak heavenly venerables in this area increased. The Emperor corpses that were abandoned by the Emperor realm cultivators gathered in the nearby battle groups, breaking the balance of the entire area. Zhuowen, what should we do? Lu Hantian's eyes flickered as he frowned. In fact, Lu Hantian also wanted to follow, but he was a little worried about Elviatao and the others. The moment they entered the gorge, he had informed Elviatao and the others that they could enter the gorge to search for opportunities. He didn't expect that they would be in such danger as soon as they entered. Let's follow them. As for Itao and the others, I have already sent the Lord of the Absolute Demon to protect them. Zhuowen smiled faintly. Lu Hantian was completely relieved when he heard this. The Lord of the Absolute Demon was a third-level demon emperor. In a sense, the latter's strength was even more terrifying than Zhuowen's demon Dao clone. With the Lord of the Absolute Demon's protection, the safety of Elviatao and the others was indeed guaranteed. After blowing away the Emperor corpse in front of them with a punch, Zhuowen and Lu Hantian looked at each other and also rushed out, entering the fog that obscured their vision. As soon as the Emperors left, the entire area became even more chaotic. Many peak heavenly venerables lost their lives under the joint attack of the Emperor corpses. Their hearts were dug out and devoured by the Emperor corpses, becoming nutrients for the Emperor corpses. Go! Run! Finally, some warriors at the peak of the heavenly sovereign realm couldn't hold on any longer. They shouted and used their own methods to escape from the ravine. Of course, those unlucky fellows who tried to escape died even faster. The Emperor corpse was much faster than them. When they tried to escape, the Emperor corpse caught up with them in an instant, killed them with a punch, and dug out their hearts. In the area of the Emperor corpses, Elviatao, Luo Xing, and Qing Lian were struggling to resist the two Emperor corpses in front of them. The three of them also saw the one-sided slaughter around them, and their eyes were filled with fear. What terrifying Emperor corpses! Those Emperor corpses have all left. Those below the Emperor realm are really going to suffer, Elviatao said bitterly. Chapter 1246. Tumitao, there's another Emperor corpse. Luo Xing, who was beside him, suddenly exclaimed. Elviatao and Qing Lian immediately raised their heads and looked over. Indeed, not far away, a martial Emperor corpse was looking at them with a pair of greedy eyes. Its scarlet eyes were staring at the three of them. Soon after, it took a step forward and dashed toward them while emitting a frightening sharp cry from its mouth. Puff! As soon as the Emperor corpse joined Elviatao and the other two's battle, the three's attacks collapsed one after another. Soon after, they spat out mouthfuls of blood and retreated continuously. Their eyes were filled with horror. Ow! The three emperor corpses roared and rushed out together towards Elvia Tau and the other two's retreat. They wanted to completely tear the three of them into pieces. It's over. Elvia Tau and the other two's faces were pale and their eyes were filled with despair. However, just as the three emperor corpses were about to reach them, a boundless Buddha light spread out. Immediately, the three emperor corpses were blown away. Soon after, a figure covered in Buddha light took a step forward and landed in front of Elvia Tau and the other two. Zhuowen. Looking at the figure covered in Buddha light, Elvia Tau and the other two heaved a sigh of relief. The figure was Zhuowen's Buddha doppelganger. I'll bring you guys out of here first. Buddha Zhuowen nodded. Soon after, he waved his Buddha palm and grabbed the three of them. Soon after, Buddha Zhuowen stomped on the ground and the entire area shook violently. Soon after, Buddha Zhuowen shot out like an arrow and rushed towards the sky above the gully. Ow! Buddha Zhuowen's action was arrogant enough. Therefore, it immediately attracted the attention of many emperor corpses in the surrounding area. The emperor corpses abandoned the other warriors and chased after Buddha Zhuowen in an attempt to stop him. Oh! Buddha Zhuowen frowned slightly when he sensed the emperor corpses that were trying to stop him. His right hand suddenly shot out and boundless Buddha light spread out. Within the Buddha light, Zhuowen unleashed the terrifying heavenly flame, the 9 flames karmic fire. In an instant, 9 different colors appeared in the sky and the entire gully was dyed into a sea of fire. Sigh. Instantly, the countless emperor corpses were blocked by the 9 flames karmic fire. Under the terrifying flame energy, they fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. The dull sound was deafening. How terrifying! Looking at the mighty Buddha Zhuowen above, many people gulped and were dumbstruck. However, even more people took advantage of this opportunity to escape. No one dared to continue. They all knew that in the core region of the Emperor's tomb, there was already such a terrifying mechanism at the beginning. What was to come would definitely be even more abnormal. In the following journey, those who were not at the Emperor realm would definitely die if they entered. Therefore, the heavenly venerables took advantage of the time when Buddha Zhuowen was attracting the Emperor corpse's attention and secretly escaped to the top of the gully. They were prepared to search for the heart of imperial power on the ground. After all, the ground was extremely vast and there would definitely be many heart of imperial power. This thing was not very useful for Emperor realm warriors, but it was very useful for warriors who had not reached the Emperor realm. The moment the 9 flames karmic fire blocked the Emperor corpses outside, Zhuowen took a step and rushed to the edge of the gully. With a wave of his Buddha palm, Elvia Tau and the other two reappeared in front of him. The moment Buddha Zhuowen appeared, a billowing demonic chi burst out from the bottom of the gully. Endless demonic chi gushed out. At some point, Taimo Lord had also come up from below. He waved his sleeve and the demonic chi around him rolled away. Then, Moyan Wushang and the other 4 appeared. Moyan Wushang and the others were still in a daze. Earlier, when they were working together to deal with the Emperor corpse, Taimo Lord suddenly appeared in front of them. Without saying a word, he used demonic chi to envelop them. Although they wanted to resist, Taimo Lord was too powerful. Their resistance was futile. After Moyan Wushang and the other 4 came back to their senses, they all took a few steps back. They stared at Taimo Lord with vigilance and said, "Who are you?" Taimo Lord was too lazy to pay attention to Moyan Wushang and the other 4. Instead, he came before Buddha Zhuowen and said respectfully, "Master, I've brought the people you asked for." "Master?" Only then did Moyan Wushang and the others notice Zhuowen, who was standing not far away. They quickly recognized Zhuowen's identity. Zhuowen explained a little to dispel the doubts in their hearts. However, they were still shocked that such a powerful devil emperor like the Lord of Absolute Demons would recognize Zhuowen as his master. This was a little unbelievable. The depths of this ravine are too dangerous for you who have yet to reach the martial emperor realm. You should just stay here obediently. You can also use this time to refine the heart of imperial power. If you are lucky enough, you might be able to break through to the martial emperor realm, Zhuowen said. Moyen Wushang's group and Elviatao's group looked at each other and nodded. Zhuowen was right. Just the emperor corpses below were troublesome enough, let alone the depths of the gully, which was even more dangerous. My Buddhist avatar will bring you all to a relatively safe place in this land. Then, he will stand guard while you refine the heart of imperial power. As for Supreme Demon, you can continue to head deeper into the ravine. Zhuowen suddenly turned to look at Lord of Supreme Demon. Taimo Lord nodded. Without further ado, he took a step forward and entered the gully again. As for Buddha Zhuowen, he waved his hand and led Moyen Wushang and the other 4 to other places in search of a relatively quiet area. Soon, the place where the emperor corpses were was emptied. They either left or died. In an instant, the entire area was deathly silent. It was extremely strange. Hundreds of emperor corpses raised their heads slightly. Their scarlet eyes looked at the sky above the gully as if there was something there that was worthy of their attention. Swoosh! A wisp of black gas fell from the sky. It was illusory. When the wisp of black gas fell into the emperor corpses area, countless emperor corpses' eyes flickered. Then, they slowly knelt on one knee and whimpered softly. The wisp of black gas lingered in the area where the emperor corpses were. Then, human faces condensed in the area where the emperor corpses were. They gathered in the black gas, causing it to expand continuously. These human faces were the souls of the cultivators who had died in the emperor corpses area. Now, they were mixed with resentment and were all absorbed by the wisp of black gas. After absorbing the souls, the wisp of black gas slowly drifted into the depths of the gully. After the wisp of black gas left, the scarlet eyes of the emperor corpses gradually dimmed. Then, they stepped back into their coffins and fell into a deep sleep. In the depths of the gully, Zhuowen and Lu Hantian silently followed behind the hundreds of emperor realm cultivators. At the same time, they were constantly paying attention to the dangers around them. Along the way, there were many towering trees that reached the clouds. The surface of these trees was incomparably black. They seemed to have blended in with the surrounding black fog. At first glance, it was difficult to distinguish the difference between the black fog and the trees. There are so many experts in the Bitter Sea. There are almost 100 Emperor Realm cultivators. Looking at the powerful figures in front of him, Lu Hantian's eyes narrowed. Although most of them were low-level Emperor Realm cultivators, this was already enough to surprise him. After all, there was only one Emperor Qing in the Qing Xian Empire. In the Bitter Sea, there were so many Emperor Realm cultivators. For a moment, Lu Hantian found it hard to adapt. Zhuowen smiled but did not explain. After all, the Bitter Sea was much bigger than the Qing Xian Empire. Its territory was also incomparably vast. The number of experts nurtured in the Bitter Sea was naturally much more than in a small place like the Qing Xian Empire. After advancing for about an hour, Zhuowen and Lu Hantian realized that the cultivators in front of them had stopped in their tracks and were silently staring ahead. Even Master Mu Feng and the group at the front had stopped in their tracks. Zhuowen and Lu Hantian leaped to the top of a tree in front of them. They followed the gaze of the crowd and looked at the front. Then, they saw a strange building. There was an extremely long square staircase in front of him. The staircase had the color of white jade, and at the top of the long staircase was a huge tombstone. The tombstone was extremely majestic, and there were many palaces standing in it. There were countless lamps floating in the sky around the tombstone. These everlasting lamps seemed to have been shining since the beginning of time. They had never been extinguished. What a majestic tombstone! Whose tomb is this? Looking at the huge tombstone, everyone was shocked. There was only one thought in their minds. Who was the owner of such a huge tomb? Who built such a magnificent mausoleum? This tomb was probably built by the strongest expert of the imperial region. Could it be that the strongest expert of the imperial region, the half-saint, is buried here? Zhuowen was also shocked by the tomb before him. He could not help but mutter in a low voice. At the front, the breathing of all the Emperor Realm cultivators who had stopped in their tracks suddenly became rough. Their eyes were blazing as they stared at the huge tomb before them. Everyone knew that this tomb should be the core of the entire Emperor tomb. All the resources and treasures of the Imperial region must be stored inside. Grandmaster Mu Feng waved his sleeve and took the lead to fly towards the mausoleum. With Grandmaster Mu Feng taking the lead, Yi Wuxin and the others behind him also flew out. Soon after, many other martial emperors crazily rushed into the mausoleum. Let's go in too. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. Together with Lu Hantian, they silently followed the large group into the tomb. Chapter 1247. 8-Gate Golden Lock Formation. Is there a sky restriction around the stairs? Looks like we can't fly into the tomb. We can only climb up. An uproar immediately broke out in the surroundings. Many cultivators felt the crushing pressure on their bodies and revealed looks of surprise. Soon after, they understood that someone had set up a no-fly zone around the mausoleum. Soon after, they obediently climbed up step by step. Even Master Mu Feng and the upper echelons of the other islands landed on the stairs and climbed up step by step. The pressure on the stairs is really strong. Feeling the crushing pressure, Zhuo Wen's footsteps became somewhat difficult. Then, he looked at the long flight of stairs above him, and the corners of his eyes continuously twitched. We can only climb up step by step. Lu Hantian shrugged. Although Lu Hantian was a third heaven emperor, he still found it difficult to adapt to the pressure on the stairs. However, it wasn't to the point where he couldn't even lift his feet. Thus, the stairs appeared. Nearly 100 people were silently climbing the stairs. No one spoke and the atmosphere was strangely quiet. Master Mu Feng and the others were the first to reach the top of the stairs. However, they didn't directly enter the tomb. Instead, they waited silently on the stairs. After a short while, the other Emperor Realm cultivators reached the top of the stairs. Everyone stood to one side. It wasn't because they didn't want to enter the tomb. It was because some of the cultivators who tried to enter the tomb discovered that there was a layer of extremely strong defensive restriction around the tomb. With their individual strength, it would be extremely difficult for them to break through the defensive restriction. Thus, everyone placed their gazes on the only Arcana Heavenly Master, Grandmaster Mu Feng. In terms of formations, only Grandmaster Mu Feng, as an Arcana Heavenly Master, understood them the best. Since Master Mu Feng didn't say anything, no one dared to say anything. They knew that Master Mu Feng would definitely take action. As more and more people reached the top of the stairs, Bai Yu and the other 5 from the inner court also reached the top. The 6 of them consciously stood behind Elder Huaxia and waited silently. Yi Yuqing of the Night Demon Island also silently walked behind Yi Wuxin. The martial emperors of the other 3 islands also came to the side of the 3 island masters. Everyone's gaze fell on Grandmaster Mu Feng. Zhuowen, come here. Moyan and Bai Yang also noticed Zhuowen, who had just climbed up the stairs. They waved their hands and spoke with a smile on their faces. As soon as Moyan and Bai Yang spoke, a cold light erupted from the eyes of Bai Yu's group. Behind Yi Wuxin, Yi Yuqing's expression was somewhat unsightly. Her eyes were filled with resentment. The others naturally also noticed the Zhuowen mentioned by Moyan and Bai Yang. When the other warriors discovered that Zhuowen's cultivation was only at the peak of the Heavenly Master realm, they all revealed looks of surprise. They had not expected that a mere ant at the peak of the Heavenly Master realm would be able to break into this tomb. However, after sensing the 3rd-level Emperor realm aura of Lu Hantian, who was standing beside Zhuowen, the warriors' eyes revealed a look of relief. Clearly, they guessed that the reason Zhuowen could reach this place was due to Lu Hantian's contribution. Zhuowen. He is. Moyan and Bai Yang stared at Lu Hantian, who was standing beside Zhuowen. They were somewhat puzzled as they asked. Big brother Hantian came from the same place as me and is also my bosom friend. Zhuowen casually explained. Moyan and Bai Yang nodded. They glanced at Lu Hantian and whispered to Zhuowen, Zhuowen, this tomb is full of dangers. Although I know that your battle strength is extraordinary, I'm afraid that it's somewhat inappropriate to enter. Do you think? Zhuowen shook his head and interrupted Moyan and Bai Yang. Dean, don't worry. Big brother Hantian's cultivation is at the 3rd-level Emperor realm after all. I feel that if I follow him, I will have no problem protecting myself. Hearing Zhuowen's words, Moyen and Bai Yang also knew that Zhuowen had made up his mind. Naturally, they did not say anything more. Instead, they asked again, "How is Wushang now?" "Dean, don't worry. Miss Wushang is very safe now. She has already successfully left the dangerous ravine," Zhuowen said concisely. Moyen and Bai Yang nodded. Since Zhuowen had said so, it meant that Moyen Wushang was indeed safe. Therefore, the trace of worry in their hearts gradually disappeared and they focused all their attention on the tomb. At the entrance of the tomb, there were two huge bronze statues of strange beasts. The strange beasts had the head of a lion and the body of a horse. Their bloody mouths were wide open, as if they wanted to devour the world. The surface of the tomb contains defensive restrictions. "We'll have to trouble Grandmaster Mu Feng with this matter," Yi Wuxin and the others said to Grandmaster Mu Feng with a flattering smile. The surrounding cultivators also revealed hopeful expressions. They were all looking forward to Grandmaster Mu Feng being able to remove the restrictions around the tomb. Of course. However, the dangers within the tomb are definitely higher than the outside. Therefore, after entering, I hope that everyone can be united, Grandmaster Mu Feng suddenly said solemnly. Hearing those words, the surrounding people's eyes flickered. However, there were also quite a few people who disagreed with Grandmaster Mu Feng's words. After entering the tomb, there were still some people who were unwilling to follow Grandmaster Mu Feng. They were more inclined to work alone. If they were lucky, they might be able to obtain some good things. Grandmaster Mu Feng, I don't think that it's up to you to decide whether or not the group is united. This is our freedom. As long as we enter the tomb, it'll be fine as long as everyone does their own things. Suddenly, an Emperor Realm cultivator from the crowd retorted, attracting everyone's attention. The Emperor Realm cultivator had a rather tall stature. Half of his body was covered in leather, revealing the bulging muscles on the right side of his body. The aura emitted from his body was rather powerful. He was actually a third-level Emperor Realm cultivator. For a wandering cultivator, this was already considered not weak. There were 7 people following behind him. They should be his companions. All of them agreed with the Emperor Realm cultivator's opinion. Of course, I won't force you. It's all up to you, Grandmaster Mu Feng indifferently said. His gaze fell onto the restrictions around the tomb. After examining them for a while, he muttered in a low voice, "If I'm not wrong, the array set up around the tomb should be the 8-gate golden lock array. I'm afraid that it won't be easy to break this array. Grandmaster Mu Feng, what do we need to do?" Yi Wuxin hastily asked. Since this restriction is called the 8-gate golden lock formation, if you want to break it open, then you'll need 8 cultivators to simultaneously blast at the 8 void doors within the formation and break it open with force. During this process, I'll be able to pry into the flaws and gaps of the 8-gate golden lock formation. At that time, it'll be easy to break open the formation, Master Mu Feng said indifferently. Yi Wuxin was startled. Soon after, he understood Grandmaster Mu Feng's meaning. His green eyes quickly locked onto the 8 people not far away. These 8 people were the ones who had retorted Grandmaster Mu Feng earlier. Since the 8-gate golden lock array needs 8 people, you guys are just right. Hurry up and get over here. Follow Grandmaster Mu Feng's instructions and attack the 8 gates of emptiness, Yi Wuxin indifferently said. Hearing Yi Wuxin's words, the faces of the 8 people instantly changed. Especially the tall man leading them. With a gloomy voice, he said, "Are you planning to make an example out of us?" "What? Only Grandmaster Mu Feng can open the 8-gate golden lock array. The group of us are all waiting to enter the tomb. The 8 of you can try to refuse." Heh. Yi Wuxin's tone became somewhat unfriendly as he coldly laughed. The gazes of the surrounding cultivators also landed on the 8 people. All of them wanted to enter the tomb. Since Grandmaster Mu Feng had said that 8 people were needed to attack the 8-gate golden lock array, it was needless to say that it would be an extremely dangerous task. In addition to the fact that the 8 people had taken the lead and were remembered by Grandmaster Mu Feng, the crowd was naturally eager for the 8 of them to take the lead and break the 8-gate golden lock array. Seeing the nearly 100 unfriendly gazes around them, the faces of the 8 people grew increasingly pale. In the end, the tall man leading the group firmly fixed his gaze on Yi Wuxin and Grandmaster Mu Feng as he coldly said, "Do the 8 of us have no other choice? What do you think?" Grandmaster Mu Feng revealed a faint smile as he replied, "Good. We'll attack the 8 gates of emptiness." The tall man straightforwardly agreed. He was very clear that if they did not agree, there was no need for Grandmaster Mu Feng to take action. The surrounding Emperor stage cultivators would definitely take action to capture them. After all, 8 people were needed to break the array. Since the 8 of them had taken the lead, the rest of the crowd would naturally not let go of such a stepping stone. The 8 gates of emptiness are located there. All of you only need to attack the 8 gates of emptiness. With a flick of his finger, 8 rays of light shot out from Grandmaster Mu Feng's finger and landed in 8 different positions of the restriction. At each of the 8 positions, there was a vague and illusory door. "Let's go." The tall man coldly snorted as he led the other 7 people towards the 8 locations that Grandmaster Mu Feng had pointed out. When they arrived at the 8 gates of emptiness, Grandmaster Mu Feng indifferently said, "Start attacking the 8 gates." Boom, boom, boom. The 8 of them nodded their heads. Each of them threw a punch forward. Immediately, traces of ripples appeared on the surface of the 8 doors of emptiness, just like ripples in water. At the same time, a powerful rebounding force was transmitted from the doors of emptiness, causing the 8 of them to snort and retreat continuously. "Continue," Grandmaster Mu Feng indifferently said. This caused the faces of the 8 of them to become slightly ugly. However, they were helpless and could only continue attacking the 8 gates golden lock array. Under the frightening ripples that spread out from the array, the faces of the 8 of them became increasingly pale as fresh blood continuously flowed out from the corners of their mouths. "Is it not done yet?" The tall man fiercely spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His hair was already disheveled as he furiously shouted, "Why are you in such a hurry?" "Not yet." Grandmaster Mu Feng caressed his fingers as he casually said, "Ha ha. Grandmaster Mu Feng, do you think that I don't know that you are abusing your authority to take revenge for a private grudge? The reason why you want the 8 of us to attack the 8 gates is because you want us to die. Since that is the case, I might as well directly kill you." Chapter 1248. Demon Soldier. The moment the tall man rushed over, the other 7 people followed behind him with murderous looks on their faces. They knew that Grandmaster Mu Feng was obviously using his position to avenge a personal grudge. Rather than being killed by him, they would rather have a head-on battle. "You overestimate yourself." Grandmaster Mu Feng didn't move, but Yi Wuxin, who was beside him, moved. 8 illusory figures shot out from his green hair. If one were to look carefully, those 8 illusory figures were actually 8 small snakes. In the instant they shot out, the 8 small snakes instantly swelled up, becoming several tens of feet long as they shot towards the 8 people led by the tall man. Poochie. In just a single exchange, other than the tall man, the other 7 people were bitten into 2 by the 7 huge pythons. Blood splattered across the horizon, as if it was raining blood. It was an extremely miserable sight. No. Seeing the 7 people die in an instant, the tall man's eyes turned scarlet red. His eyes were filled with grief and indignation. However, the huge pythons that Yi Wuxin had manifested were extremely terrifying. The tall man was completely suppressed by the huge pythons, unable to escape. "Don't worry, you will also accompany your brother." Yi Wuxin's cold voice sounded from behind the tall man. Soon after, the tall man felt a pain in his chest. He was shocked to discover that a hand had pierced through his chest. When he turned his head, he saw Yi Wuxin's cold smile. Soon after, his consciousness fell into darkness. Plop! When the tall man's corpse fell from the sky, the surrounding people were all silent. No one dared to make a sound. Yi Wuxin was a demon emperor, and also the island master of the Night Demon Island. His strength was extremely terrifying. Although he was only a 4th Heaven Demon Emperor, his fighting strength was comparable to an ordinary 5th Heaven Emperor. No one dared to provoke such an existence. After dealing with the tall man, Yi Wuxin walked towards Grandmaster Mu Feng and said with a smile, "Grandmaster, I wonder if you have found the loopholes of the 8 gates golden lock formation?" Grandmaster Mu Feng nodded and said, Naturally. I plan to break the formation next. Don't disturb me. As he spoke, Grandmaster Mu Feng began to set up a method to break the array. The rest of the people revealed looks of anticipation in their eyes. Zhuowen, who was behind Moyan and Bai Yang, frowned slightly. The tactics of this Grandmaster Mu Feng were extremely vicious. Even he felt a chill. If he had guessed correctly, Grandmaster Mu Feng had already discovered the weakness of the 8-gate golden lock formation when the 8 of them attacked it for the first time. However, Grandmaster Mu Feng did not ask the 8 of them to stop. Instead, he asked them to continue attacking the formation with all their might. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Grandmaster Mu Feng was simply taking revenge on the tall man and the others. He had taken their lives just because they had offended him. Grandmaster Mu Feng's ruthless methods caused even Zhuowen to feel a chill in his heart. Creak. Suddenly, the sound of the mechanism being activated resounded throughout the entire space. Soon after, the strange beasts that were sitting on both sides of the entrance of the tomb seemed to have come alive. They suddenly emitted a roar. The door in the middle of the strange beasts slowly opened. The invisible restriction that appeared on the surface of the door also gradually disappeared. The instant the door opened, everyone's eyes became fiery hot. What exactly existed in this mysterious tomb? This tomb is definitely filled with danger. It's better for everyone to gather together. Grandmaster Mu Feng's indifferent voice rang out once again, causing the hearts of quite a number of practitioners to tremble. All of them nodded their heads. In any case, they were completely unfamiliar with this tomb. Therefore, it would be safer for everyone to gather together and explore. As for those practitioners who wanted to explore alone, they temporarily gave up on such thoughts after recalling the fate of the tall and big man. Enter. Grandmaster Mu Feng roared out in a low voice. He took the lead and led the people from Excellent Spirit Island into the tomb. Following which, the Night Demon Island, Azura Island, Horizon Island, and Sea Heart Island followed in succession. After the people from the 5 strongest islands had all entered, the remaining loose cultivators rushed into the door. Very quickly, the originally bustling top of the stairs became empty and desolate. Not long after everyone entered, a wisp of black chi slowly swept over from afar. This wisp of black chi stopped at the entrance of the tomb and started to squirm. It actually took the form of a strange human figure. A pair of scarlet eyes stared straight at the entrance of the tomb. There was an indescribable emotion in its eyes. All. Have you entered? A somewhat indistinct voice was emitted from the mouth of the strange human figure. After that, it fell into silence. After the silence, the strange human figure once again turned into a wisp of black chi and drilled into the entrance of the tomb. Is this the interior of the tomb? The scenery in front of their eyes suddenly changed. Soon after, Zhuowen and the rest saw that there were mountain peaks in their surroundings. These mountain peaks were incomparably desolate. Not a single blade of grass grew. The ground was a decadent desert. However, at the end of the continuous mountain peaks, there were actually many palaces that were floating in the air. Those palaces were scattered in picturesque disorder as they floated in the air. In the 4 directions of the palace world, there were 4 huge golden light pillars. Every single golden light pillar was extremely huge as it pierced through the clouds. It was as if they were supporting the small world that the palaces were located in. That should be the center of the tomb. It is also the ultimate goal of our trip to the Emperor's tomb. Grandmaster Mu Feng pointed at the palace world that was supported by the 4 golden light pillars. His indifferent voice slowly rang out like a large bell as it resounded in everyone's ears. As his words fell, everyone's gazes landed on the palace world that was extremely far away. However, the palace world was too far away from them. They could only see a rough outline. Ha! Ha! However, very quickly, everyone's gazes were attracted by the strange sounds coming from the mountain peak in front of them. They saw that the sky above the mountain peak was densely packed with white pieces. If one were to take a closer look, this white color was actually the white light that was reflected by the dense cold armor. That is, Grandmaster Mu Feng's gaze was immediately attracted by the white light. When his gaze landed on the mountain peak, he finally saw the true appearance of the white light. It was actually soldiers wearing armor. If one were to take a closer look, the appearance of these soldiers did not look like humans at all. Instead, they looked like some kind of demonic beast. This was because the surface of these creatures was covered with strange scales. They had long lizard tails behind their backs. Their eyes were even like those of a lizard. They were cold and emotionless. Moreover, they were filled with a coldness that disregarded life. Someone has broken into the tomb. It's a human. It's another damned human. Kill. 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 Unexpectedly, when these lizard-like creatures saw Grandmaster Mu Feng and the group of Emperor Realm warriors, they seemed to have gone berserk. With a furious roar, they madly rushed towards Grandmaster Mu Feng and the group. It was as if they had a deep grudge against Grandmaster Mu Feng and the group. The leader of these lizard-like soldiers had an exceptionally large body. He was at least 3 times the size of an ordinary soldier. He held a large axe with 2 blades in his hands. With a large bloody mouth, he led several hundred soldiers and rushed over in a grandiose manner. It's actually demonic soldiers. Damn it. There are actually demonic soldiers in here. Yi Wuxin, who was standing beside Grandmaster Mu Feng, saw the grandiose demonic soldiers rushing over. His face turned a little green and purple. It was extremely ugly. Demonic soldiers? Everyone was a little confused. Clearly, this was the first time that they had heard of demonic soldiers. Demonic soldiers. In layman's terms, it's an army formed by demonic emperors. Every demonic soldier's strength is at least at the first layer demonic emperor realm. There are several hundred demonic soldiers. I'm afraid that it'll be very difficult to deal with them. Especially the leader. I'm afraid that he's at the 3rd layer demonic emperor realm. Moreover, this group of demonic soldiers seems to be well trained. They possess a terrifying battle strength that can take on 10 people at once. In addition to their tacit cooperation, I'm afraid that it'll be extremely difficult to deal with them. Yi Wuxin slowly said. What? They're all demonic emperors? This. Everyone was shocked. They had already experienced how terrifying demonic emperors were from Yi Wuxin. Although they could sense that the several hundred demonic soldiers rushing over were all at the 1st layer demonic emperor realm, they were demonic emperors. Even if they were ordinary demonic emperors that had advanced from origin beasts, their strength was still much more terrifying than ordinary 1st layer demonic emperors. In addition to the huge number of demonic soldiers in front of them, everyone was somewhat unable to imagine the consequences. What are you afraid of? We have close to 100 1st layer demonic emperor realm practitioners here. Furthermore, all of them are at the 1st layer demonic emperor realm and above. If we work together, why should we be afraid of these demonic soldiers? Grandmaster Mu Feng was extremely calm as he cried out in a low voice. After hearing Grandmaster Mu Feng's words, everyone's hearts were greatly reassured. Grandmaster Mu Feng was right. Although they did not have as many people as the demonic soldiers rushing over, there were still close to 100 of them. Furthermore, all of them were elites. As long as they worked together, they really did not need to be afraid of these demonic soldiers. At the same time, Grandmaster Mu Feng waved his sleeve. Immediately, numerous lustrous and glowing yuan crystals shot out. Soon after, they surrounded everyone like a storm. Within every single yuan crystal, extremely powerful energy erupted. Ow! Soon after, the energy squirmed and condensed into 9 huge snake heads. Every single snake head was several hundred feet in size. Bearing their fangs and brandishing their claws, they were exceptionally terrifying. This is the 9-headed snake formation. Distribute the people evenly among the 9 snake heads. It will be able to gather everyone's strength together and unleash an even greater power. Grandmaster Mu Feng said in an indifferent manner. Many warriors revealed grateful expressions in their eyes when they heard this. Soon after, under the arrangement of Grandmaster Mu Feng, they were evenly distributed among the 9 snake heads. Grandmaster Mu Feng, on the other hand, sat on the body of the 9-headed snake and presided over the formation of the entire 9-headed snake. Chapter 1249. Demon Soldier Leader of the 9 Snake Heads. The first was led by Elder Huaxia, the second by Yi Wuxin, the third by Mo Yang and Bai Yang, and the fourth by Azura Li Di. As for the fifth and sixth, they were led by Chen Haixin and Tian Jueya. As for the remaining three, they were led by people chosen by Grandmaster Mu Feng. As the name implied, among the 9 snakeheads, the first snakehead would naturally be the strongest, while the 9th snakehead would be the weakest. As for the strongest snakehead, it would naturally be controlled by the strongest elder Huaxia. As for Yi Wuxin, although his strength was on par with Moyan and Bai Yang, he was a demon emperor and was more familiar with demon soldiers. Thus, Grandmaster Mu Feng had arranged for him to be the second snakehead. Bang bang bang! Hundreds of demon soldiers surged over like giant waves that blotted the skies. In an instant, they had reached the 9-headed snake formation. Their fierce attacks rumbled as they smashed down, heavily smashing against the 9-headed snake formation, causing it to violently shake. Everyone, pour your Yuan power into the Yuan formation to resist the attacks of the demon soldiers. Amidst the oppressive tremors, Master Mu Feng sat on the snake's body without moving like a rock, and he spoke calmly. Everyone nodded their heads as they poured their Yuan power into the 9-headed snake formation. Under the command of the leaders of the various snakeheads, the formation appeared to be in an orderly fashion. Ow! In an instant, the 9 snake heads turned violent, smashing towards the demon soldiers in front of them without the slightest bit of politeness. Seeing that the 9-headed snake formation was actually able to display such a powerful might, many of the practitioners within the formation revealed expressions of excitement. Zhuowen's eyes also shone with brilliance. This Mu Feng was indeed a heavenly arcane master. The 9-headed snake formation that he had arranged was not something that she could compare to. Furthermore, its might was extremely frightening. If I'm able to become a heavenly arcane master, perhaps I might be able to arrange such a powerful formation, right? Zhuowen's eyes sparkled as she muttered to herself. Bang bang bang! Caught off guard, the demon soldiers were forced to continuously retreat under the attacks of the 9 snake heads. A sliver of astonishment flashed within the eyes of the leader of the demon soldiers. In the next instant, he roared out, "Form the formation and kill, kill, kill." Monstrous battle cries rang out. The demonic soldiers that were repelled by the 9-headed snake were arranged in a strange formation in the sky. Waves of demonic aura spread out and instantly enveloped all the demonic soldiers, forming a hazy green fog. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a huge hand that was hundreds of meters long stretched out from the green mist. The surface of the hand was covered with green scales, and the scales emitted a cold light. The moment the hand stretched out, a huge foot stepped out, and then a huge figure appeared in front of the 9-headed snake. It was a gigantic lizard man with green mist lingering on its surface. Its billowing demonic energy seemed to cover the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire area. The lizardman's appearance was similar to that of the demon soldier. Its surface was also covered in a chilling armor, and it held a gigantic spear that was like a pillar supporting the heavens. This is a formation unique to the demon soldiers. It can gather all the demon soldiers' energy and form a huge demon soldier phantom. Yi Wuxin's eyes were a little gloomy as he spoke. How do we break the formation? Elder Huaxia of the first snake head suddenly asked. Do you see the leader of the demon soldiers on the demon soldier phantom? The reason why the demon soldiers are able to set up such a powerful formation is mainly because of the demon soldier phantom's command. The leader of the demon soldiers has supreme prestige among the demon soldiers. He is also proficient in many military formations. If the leader of the demon soldiers dies, the formation will be useless. Yi Wuxin pondered for a moment and said. Master Mu Feng frowned and said, "Who is willing to deal with the leader of the demon soldiers?" Everyone fell silent. The leader of the demon soldiers was very powerful. It was a 3rd-level demon emperor, which was even more terrifying than a 4th-level demon emperor. Only a few middle-level demon emperors could deal with such an existence. However, Elder Huaxia, Yi Wuxin, and the other middle-level demon emperors were all in charge of the snakeheads. They had no time to deal with the leader of the demon soldiers. "Let me do it." A cold and indifferent voice slowly resounded, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes gathered over, only to discover a young man with long black and red hair, whose eyes were alternating between black and red, slowly walking out from one of the snake heads. His eyes were cold and emotionless. It was as though there was no other emotion in his eyes other than this one. Can you do it? Yi Wuxian's eyes fell on the young man. He could not help but ask when he saw how young the young man was. Why can't I? The demonic young man chuckled. Demonic chi surged out from his body. A wild aura gushed out. His long hair fluttered in the wind. It's a third-level demon emperor. Besides the demon emperors, there is also a demon emperor among us. Moreover, it's a third-level demon emperor. Feeling the powerful aura of the demonic young man, the eyes of all the warriors in the nine-headed snake formation turned cold. Yi Wuxian was a demon emperor. Everyone naturally knew that. However, they did not expect that there was a demon emperor among them who was not weaker than the demon emperors. The demonic young man's performance was mediocre at the beginning. However, at the critical moment, he showed his extraordinary strength. This made many people think highly of him. It's that bastard's thing. Bai Yu, who was following Elder Huaxie in the first snakehead, naturally also saw the demonic young man who was surrounded by everyone. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. Wasn't this demonic young man the one who had snatched the heart of imperial power from him outside the gully back then? Bai Yu. Do you know this demonic young man? Elder Huaxie also noticed Bai Yu's strange behavior and could not help but ask. Bai Yu's eyes flickered. He said in a low voice, "This demonic young man is the one who snatched the heart of imperial power from me. I see. This demonic young man's cultivation has reached the third-level demon emperor at such a young age. His talent is not bad. No wonder you lost to him," Elder Huaxie said slowly. However, his voice was even colder than before. The corner of Bai Yu's mouth twitched when he heard this. After all, he was a rather famous genius in the inner court sky capital peak. Losing to this demonic youth was definitely a stain and humiliation to him. Naturally, he would feel somewhat uneasy if Elder Huasi knew about this. Jiang Ying and the other 4 people standing behind Bai Yu kept quiet out of fear. No one spoke. Under such circumstances, they did not dare to interrupt. Bai Yu, you don't have to be too conflicted. Everyone knows the combat strength of a third-level demon emperor. Your defeat is not too humiliating. When your cultivation increases in the future, you can step on this demonic young man who defeated you again, Elder Huaxie said indifferently. Bai Yu sighed when he heard this. His eyes flickered as he probed, "Elder, this guy ignored our inner yard and openly snatched my heart of imperial power. Do you think we should?" Elder Huaxie shook his head and said, "This demonic youth's strength is not bad. He will be quite useful once he enters the tomb. Moreover, he is now going out to deal with the leader of the demonic soldiers under Master Mu Feng's request. What do you think?" Bai Yu quickly lowered his head and did not dare to answer. He knew that now was not the time to deal with this demonic young man. "Good. If you can help us kill the leader of the demon soldiers, I, Mu Feng, will remember your merit," Master Mu Feng said with a laugh. Zhuoan nodded and said with a smile, "Thank you, Master Mu Feng. Don't go out now. When the 9-headed snake and the lizard man are fighting, I will let you out of the 9-headed snake's array the moment they reveal a flaw. At that time, you just need to find an opportunity to pin down the leader of the demon soldiers. As long as you pin down the leader of the demon soldiers and prevent him from commanding the demon soldiers, we will be able to let the 9-headed snake destroy the lizardman's array," Master Mu Feng said again. "Ow!" A roar resounded. Soon after, the earth rumbled with earth-shattering vibrations. It was as if the heavens and earth were being turned upside down. The hundreds of demon soldiers that had transformed into a giant lizard walked over step by step. It swung its giant spear that was like a pillar that supported the heavens. Immediately, the heavens and earth changed color and the space collapsed. It slashed towards the 9-headed snake with a rumble. A proud and aloof figure stood silently on the lizard's head. This figure was the leader of the demon soldiers, who was commanding the demon soldiers with his divine sense. It was because of this demon soldier leader's command that the giant lizard was able to unleash all sorts of powerful attacks. The 9-headed snake did not show any signs of weakness. Under Master Mu Feng's control, Its power was not much weaker than the lizard. Boom, 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 boom. In the sky above the endless mountain peaks, the giant nine-headed snake and the lizard instantly engaged in battle. The earth-shattering power spread out, causing the surrounding space to collapse. The rumbling thunderclap-like sounds seemed to have spread throughout the entire space. The mountain range below trembled intensely under the aftermath of the great battle. The leader of the demon soldiers that was standing on the head of the lizard frowned. He did not expect that the nine-headed snake formation formed by the human warriors would be so powerful. The demon soldiers that he was controlling were unable to do anything to it. The intruders this time around are really difficult to deal with. However, no matter how difficult it is to deal with you, I will let you know the severity of the consequences of intruding into the tomb. The leader of the demon soldiers coldly muttered. Soon after, he formed a seal with both of his hands. It was as if he was forming some kind of mysterious seal. Waves of demonic energy rushed out from the body of the leader of the demon soldiers. Now is the time. Go and restrain the leader of the demon soldiers. Don't let him form the seal successfully. Master Mu Feng's eyes flickered. Immediately, he waved his sleeve and a gap appeared within the nine-headed snake. This gap was the one that led to the outside world. Chapter 1250. Junsheng Dinghe. The eyelids of the leader of the demonic soldiers twitched. When he saw the great demon halberd flying towards him, his pupils shrunk to the size of needles. He cursed in his heart and immediately stopped forming seals with his hands. His right leg suddenly took a step forward and the great demon halberd was dodged by him. Soon after, his demonic eyes stared intently at Zhuowen, who was charging towards him. Demon Emperor? When he saw the surging demonic aura on Zhuowen's body, he was startled. Soon after, he coldly snorted and commanded the lizard creature to attack Zhuowen. The lizard creature was formed by hundreds of demonic soldiers and was much more powerful than a third heaven demon emperor. A single attack was enough to annihilate this overconfident young man from the demonic path. Nine-headed snake formation, activate. Master Mu Feng, who was seated on the nine-headed snake, waved his sleeves and surging mental energy rushed out. Immediately, the huge nine-headed snake blocked the lizard creature's attack. Deng deng deng. The lizard creature retreated dozens of steps and its attack, which was originally aimed at the young man from the demonic path, immediately collapsed. Damn it! The leader of the demonic soldiers cursed in a low voice. Just as he was about to command the lizard creature to continue attacking, the young man from the demonic path had already arrived in front of him. The great demon halberd in the latter's hands shot out and turned into two black streaks of light that shot towards the leader of the demonic soldiers' vital points. Boom! The leader of the demonic soldiers took a step forward and swung the double-edged axe in his hand. A wild wind whistled and an explosive energy spread out. Immediately, the great demon halberd in front of him was completely destroyed. Die! The moment the great demon halberd was destroyed, the leader of the demonic soldiers took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of Zhuowen. The double-edged axe was swung from the side and terrifying demonic energy formed a terrifying storm that enveloped Zhuowen. The leader of the demonic soldiers was a third heaven demon emperor. Even though Zhuowen was from the demonic path, he could not be careless. Therefore, he immediately took out the slaughtering demonic blade. On the surface of the demonic blade, black and red auras alternated and spread out like clouds. There was a strange pungent smell within it. Boom! In an instant, the slaughtering demonic blade and the double-edged axe collided. The sound of metal clashing was like a great bell as it spread out. Invisible energy ripples spread out, causing the surrounding space to show signs of collapsing. Demonic chi and demonic chi mixed together in the void, and a terrifying energy spread out, causing many warriors in the nine-headed snake formation to be secretly shocked. Boom! Boom! The battle between demonic Dao's Zhuowen and the demon soldier commander was extremely fierce. The two of them fought from the sky to the ground, and then from the ground to the sky. Demonic power and demon power collided with each other, creating terrifying shockwaves. Many areas of space were crushed by these two forces, completely collapsing and breaking apart. The battle between a third heaven demon emperor and a third heaven demon emperor was almost as powerful as a fifth heaven emperor. Many cultivators were secretly shocked. They finally understood why demon emperors and demon emperors were so famous and were even known as terrifying existences like fighting machines. Both of them had the strength to fight. Now that the demon soldier commander is pinned down, the might of the lizard creature has been greatly weakened. Let's immediately destroy it in one go. While everyone's attention was attracted by the battle between the demonic Dao cultivator Zhuoan and the demon soldier commander, Master Mufeng was extremely calm. With a wave of his sleeve, he controlled the core of the nine-headed snake formation and circulated a huge amount of energy. The others also reacted and began to cooperate with Master Mufeng's actions, injecting their own yuan power into the nine-headed snake formation. Boom! In an instant, the might of the nine-headed snake formation became much more terrifying. Subsequently, the 9 snake heads swept out and bombarded the lizard creature. The originally terrifying lizard creature seemed to have become much more dispirited at this moment. Under the attack of the 9-headed snake formation, it was forced to retreat. Moreover, if one were to observe carefully, the corpses of demon soldiers would frequently fall from the lizard creature. These corpses were the demon soldiers who were unlucky enough to die under the attacks of the 9-headed snake formation because they couldn't withstand it. Moreover, the number of demon soldiers' corpses was still increasing, and the strength of the lizard creature was gradually decreasing. It was almost suppressed by the 9-headed snake formation. Bastard, get lost. Naturally, when the demon soldier commander saw this scene, his eyes turned incomparably red. With a furious roar, billowing demonic energy gushed out and forced Zhuoan to retreat by dozens of steps. Thereafter, he rushed towards Zhuoan once again with a murderous aura. He knew that if he didn't kill this demonic Dao youth in front of him, it would be impossible for him to return to the lizard creature and command the demon soldiers again. Therefore, this demonic Dao youth in front of him had to die. True demon space destruction. As the demon soldier commander rushed over, he had already swung the double-edged axe in his hand. Suddenly, a terrifying demonic energy soared into the sky and turned into a huge true demon phantom above his body. This true demon phantom stepped out from the void. Demonic energy surged around its body, and its face wasn't light. However, its pair of eyes appeared particularly demonic. The moment the true demon phantom appeared, the double-edged axe in the demon soldier commander's hand suddenly expanded countless times. The true demon phantom held it in its palm, and with a roar, it suddenly smashed down on Zhuoan below. The violent astral wind that swept out from the axe blade was like the most powerful weapon in the world. It could smash anything that was swept into it into pieces. At this moment, the 9-headed snake formation not far away had completely suppressed the lizard creature. Moreover, every time it attacked, many of the demon soldiers in the lizard creature would die. Everyone knew that when most of the demon soldiers died, the lizard creature would collapse by itself. Therefore, the people in the 9-headed snake formation were rather relaxed. Many of them even paid attention to the fierce battle between the demon cultivator and the demon soldier commander on the other side of the void. What a terrifying move! The demon soldier commander is going all out. When the crowd saw the terrifying true demon phantom, their eyes were filled with shock. The power of a third heaven demon emperor's all-out attack made many fourth heaven emperor realm warriors feel fear in their hearts. Facing the true demon phantom, those fourth heaven emperor realm warriors felt guilty because they realized that if they were to face the true demon phantom, their outcome would be very serious. Demon cultivator Zhuoan slowly stood in the void and stared at the terrifying true demon phantom. His gaze was as calm as water. He slowly raised the slaughtering devil blade in his right hand. Then, a mysterious aura spread out. Black and red alternating energy burst out and formed a huge word abstinence in the void. The third move of the slaughtering abstinence saber technique, abstinence. There is nothing in the world that cannot be abstinence from and nothing that cannot be abstinence from. An indifferent voice slowly came out from his mouth. Then, another word appeared beside the word abstinence in the void. This word was the word abstinence. However, the moment these two words appeared, the entire space seemed to have come to a standstill. The The true demon silhouette's double-edged axe also came to a complete stop at this moment. It was as if there was a strange sealing force in the air that had completely locked the true demon silhouette in place, making it unable to move at all. Kill. The instant the true demon phantasm froze, demonic Dao's Zhuo Wen leapt up and raised the demonic slaughtering blade above his head. The demonic runes on the demonic slaughtering blade throbbed like a heart. Soon after, the demonic slaughtering blade grew from 10 feet to several hundred feet in length and smashed down on the head of the true demon phantasm. Boom. 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 From beginning to end, demon cultivator Zhuo Wen slashed down with his blade. Then, he slowly landed on the ground and walked step by step towards the demon soldier commander standing behind the true demon phantom. Under the confinement of the abstinence saber, the demon soldier commander was unable to move. He could only stare blankly as demon cultivator Zhuo Wen approached him. When Zhuo Wen arrived in front of him, the gigantic true demon phantom behind him actually fell to its knees. A heavy pressure slammed onto the ground, causing waves of tremors. Then, the true demon phantom slowly dissipated. After forcing me to use the abstinence saber, you can die in peace. Demon cultivator Zhuo Wen's emotionless eyes glanced indifferently at the demon soldier commander, whose eyes were filled with fear. With a wave of his right hand, a huge head soared into the sky. Oh! This is... The instant the demon soldier commander's head was chopped off, Zhuo Wen keenly discovered that a ball of white light had shot out from the demon soldier commander's body. It seemed that the demon soldier commander was planning to break through the air and escape. This is Demon Yuan. Let's see where you're going. Zhuo Wen was taken aback. He took a step forward and slammed his right hand down, sucking the escaping white light into his palm. Within the white light, the miniature demon soldier commander withdrew. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Zhuo Wen, begging for mercy. Cultivators had their own reasons. Naturally, after the origin beast became a martial emperor, it would naturally have a similar existence. Generally, cultivators called it Demon Yuan. Demon Yuan was similar to a cultivator's nascent soul. The only difference was that Demon Yuan was much tougher than a cultivator's nascent soul and would not dissipate easily. After all, this is the Demon Yuan of a third-level demon emperor. I wonder if it will be of some help to that little guy, the black soul ice butterfly. Zhuo Wen's heart stirred. At the same time, the black soul ice butterfly in the Ice Saint talisman sent a cheerful message to his mind. Obviously, his guess was right. The demon soldier commander's Demon Yuan was of great use to it. Little guy, wait for a moment. I'll give it to you later. After Zhuo Wen comforted the profound soul ice butterfly with his mind, he stored it in his spirit ring. The Saint Rune of Ice existed in his body. If he wanted to give the demon essence to Zhuo Wen, he had to give it to his body. Now that there were so many people around, he naturally couldn't expose the fact that Zhuo Wen of the demonic Dao was his doppelganger. The demon soldier commander's double-edged axe is a good treasure. I'll take it. After keeping the demon Yuan, Zhuo Wen naturally did not let go of the double-edged axe in the demon soldier commander's hand. The axe was a powerful demon weapon. Its power was equivalent to an emperor weapon. In a sense, it was even more powerful than an ordinary emperor weapon. Zhuo Wen naturally would not let it go. Chapter 1251. Demonic character. The demonic youth directly killed the leader of the demon soldiers. After being stunned for a while, many people revealed astonished expressions. The demonic youth was a third heaven demon emperor, and the leader of the demon soldiers was a third heaven demon emperor. Their strength should be similar, but the demonic youth was able to kill the leader of the demon soldiers. Such a fact was indeed a little shocking to everyone. Even Master Mu Feng's expression turned solemn. His original intention was to let the demonic youth restrain the leader of the demon soldiers. Once the latter was restrained, he would be able to control the nine-headed snake formation to completely destroy the lizard creature. With the lizard creature dead, the leader of the demon soldiers would naturally not be much of a threat. The demonic youth was really ruthless. Not only did he restrain the leader of the demon soldiers, but he also killed it. This result was indeed unexpected. Swoosh. After dealing with the leader of the demon soldiers, The demonic youth took a step forward and entered the nine-headed snake formation. Master Mu Feng looked at the demonic youth with a smile and asked, "Good. Your strength has somewhat exceeded my expectations. What is your name?" The demonic youth Zhuoan nodded. Under the envious gazes of the surrounding people, he concisely said, "Demonic character." "Demonic character? It's a pretty good name. When we enter the core palace later, follow beside me. If you encounter any danger, I can protect you," Master Mu Feng said in a good mood. When Mu Feng said those words, it caused quite a few people in the surroundings to reveal expressions of envy. After all, Grandmaster Mu Feng was an Arcana Heavenly Master, and possessed numerous techniques. He could be considered to be the person with the most frightening strength within this group, as well as the one with the most mysterious and unfathomable strength. Being able to obtain his protection was something that many people present yearned for. The demonic youth Zhuoan shook his head and said, "I will just follow behind Master. As for any danger, I will deal with it myself." What an ungrateful fellow. After Demon Dao Zhuoan spat out these words, many people in the surroundings cursed this Demon Dao youth in their hearts for not knowing how to appreciate favors. Even Master Mu Feng frowned slightly. However, he didn't care too much about it. He smiled faintly and said, "It is indeed a good thing to have confidence. However, if you really encounter danger that you can't withstand, you can call for me. I will help you deal with it." Upon hearing this, Zhuo Wen of the demonic Dao nodded and silently walked to the other side. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the lizard was finally annihilated by the nine-headed snake's attack. "Go! Keep moving forward and don't let your guard down." Master Mu Feng waved his sleeves and continued to control the nine-headed snake formation. He then led the group towards the palace world. When the nine-headed snake formation was only a few dozen feet away from the palace world, everyone in the nine-headed snake formation smiled knowingly. Their eyes were burning with passion. After going through so many checkpoints, they were finally going to reach the core of the Emperor's tomb. This palace world was so vast that even a fool would know that there must be something good inside. Rumble. Just when the nine-headed snake formation was about to reach the palace world, everyone was shocked to discover that there was a violent tremor coming from outside the nine-headed snake formation. It caused the nine-headed snake formation to stop. What is that? Quite a number of people were stunned when they felt the tremors that were spreading out. Not good. Everyone, look over there. Elder Huaxia suddenly shouted. This is big trouble. Yi Wuxin also looked into the distance and muttered with a grave expression. Zhuoan and Lu Hantian, who were in the third snakehead, also raised their heads and looked into the distance. Soon after, they discovered that there was a dense amount of demon soldiers in the distance. The amount of demon soldiers was more than 10 times the amount that they had encountered before. At the head of the huge demon soldiers was a female demon covered in scales. The demon soldiers that had appeared this time were different from the ones they had encountered before. This time, the demon soldiers had sturdy bodies and sharp fins on their backs. Their surroundings were filled with a dense aura of the sea. The female demon in the lead held a trident in her hand. With a swing of her tail, she stepped on the waves and swept out with killing intent, causing everyone's faces to change drastically. There are over 1,000 demon soldiers this time. Isn't this number too terrifying? Everyone was terrified. Soon after, everyone's gazes turned towards Master Mu Feng, who was on the back of the snake. They knew that only Master Mu Feng would be able to solve this problem. Master Mu Feng was calm and composed as he said indifferently, "Accept the challenge. I will bear all the consequences. As long as you charge through these 1,000 demon soldiers, you will be able to reach the core of the Emperor's tomb. Everything you want will be there, whether it's Emperor artifacts, cultivation techniques, or elixirs. You just have to charge through these demon soldiers." Hearing Master Mu Feng's words, many cultivators calmed down. The nine-headed snake formation that they were in wasn't weak. They might not be afraid of the powerful formation formed by over 1,000 demon soldiers. Kill. In an instant, the nine-headed snake formation was activated once again. It faced the huge number of demon soldiers without any fear. The female demon in the lead squinted her eyes and let out a sharp cry. With a swing of the trident in her hand, the 1,000 demon soldiers behind her let out a strange sound. Soon after, they waved their weapons in an orderly manner. In an instant, monstrous waves surged out from the top of the demon soldiers. Boom! The waves were endless and instantly engulfed the 9-headed snake formation. Soon after, miserable shrieks resounded from within the 9-headed snake formation. The weakest 9-headed snake formation, the 9th and 8th heads, were crushed by the terrifying waves in an instant. The cultivators in the 2 heads were instantly annihilated by the powerful waves. Retreat! Master Mu Feng frowned. With a wave of his sleeve, the 9-headed snake formation retreated out of the range of the waves. How terrifying! These 1,000 demon soldiers aren't something that we can fight against. The demon soldiers this time are much stronger than the previous one. We are no match for them. The rest of the 7 snakeheads showed a look of fear on their faces as they screamed crazily. In the 9th and 8th snakeheads, there were more than 20 Emperor Realm experts. In just one move, these 20 Emperor Realm experts were completely annihilated. This was too terrifying. They were completely terrified. Shut up. The only way to get through this is to unite as one. Otherwise, all of you will die, Master Mu Feng said coldly. As soon as these words came out, everyone stopped talking. They looked at Master Mu Feng with trembling eyes. Now, all the mid-level Emperor Realm cultivators are gathered in the first head. This head is the strongest. With the strongest cultivators, we can unleash the strongest power, Master Mu Feng continued. Yi Wuxin, Mo Yang, Bai Yang, Chen Haixin, Tian Jueya and Azura Lidi looked at each other. They did not object to Master Mu Feng's suggestion. They gathered together and stood in the first head. As for Demon Dao's Zhuoan, he was naturally arranged to be in the first head because he possessed the strength of a mid-level Emperor Realm cultivator. As for Zhuoan and Lu Hantian, they were naturally arranged to be in the first head because of their relationship with Mo Yang and Bai Yang. The rest of the people will be divided equally among the remaining 6 heads. Hurry up, we don't have much time to waste, Master Mu Feng shouted coldly. After the others recovered from their shock, they followed Grandmaster Mu Feng's instructions and entered the other snakeheads. Although they did not know the purpose of Grandmaster Mu Feng's sudden arrangement, they did not suspect him when they recalled his status. With the first head as the main body, the other heads as support. Kill! Master Mu Feng shouted coldly. Instantly, the first snakehead roared and rushed out. The remaining 6 snakeheads followed closely behind the first snakehead and continued to rush towards the thousands of demon soldiers in front of them. The banshee's mouth was filled with a cold smile. She waved her trident again and borrowed the strength of the 1,000 demon soldiers. Monstrous waves surged out from the void. This time, the waves were even more terrifying than the previous one. Master Mu Feng, who was seated cross-legged on the snake, stared at the powerful wave that was pouring down. His eyes narrowed slightly, before he took a step forward and directly arrived on the head of the first snake. Subsequently, frightening mental energy erupted from him. Instantly, the head of the first snake, which was originally charging forward, suddenly turned around and swiftly fled to the side. This scene happened too quickly, so much so that the Demonis and the other 6 snake-headed practitioners did not expect it. By the time they reacted, the 6 snake-headed practitioners had already collided with the monstrous waves. Soon after, a terrifying explosion started to spread, causing the entire space to collapse and become unstable. Go! Quickly enter the world of the palace. Master Mu Feng instructed. He sat cross-legged on the first head of the snake and began to command it to rush towards the world of the palace not far away. Ah, cunning human, you actually dare to play tricks in front of me. You're courting death. Only now did the banshee react. In the midst of the explosion, she took a step forward and led the 1,000 demon soldiers to chase after the first head of the snake. As for the attacks of the 6 heads of the snake, they did not cause any damage to the 1,000 demon soldiers. Master Mu Feng originally did not expect the 6 heads of the snake to cause any damage to the 1,000 demon soldiers. What he wanted was for the 6 heads of the snake to hold back the demon soldiers for a period of time so that he and the first head of the snake would have enough time to escape. They're so fast. Master Mu Feng quickly noticed the 1,000 demon soldiers that were sweeping up the monstrous waves behind him. His face darkened. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out a piece of yuan crystal and slapped it on the head of the snake. Instantly, the first head of the snake roared and its speed increased by several times. In one move, it pulled the distance between them and the demon soldiers behind it. After about 10 breaths of time, the first head of the snake had completely entered the world of the palace. It slowly came to a stop on a large square in the middle of the palace. Damned human. Chapter 1252. Treasure Hall. It's best that you don't come out. Once you do, I will tear all of you into pieces. The demoness roared. Her demonic eyes stared coldly at Master Mu Feng and the others in the palace world. She actually led thousands of demonic soldiers to patrol outside the palace world. She was actually planning to wait there. In the central plaza of the palace, the first snake head gradually disappeared, revealing nearly 20 figures. Among them, Yi Wuxin, Azura Lidi, Chen Haixin and Tianju Ya, the 4 island masters, all had ugly expressions. The 4 of them did not expect Master Mu Feng to use the method of abandoning the pawn to protect the cart. He directly abandoned the other 6 snakeheads and rushed into the palace world with the first snakehead. It was no wonder Master Mu Feng had gathered all the mid-level emperor experts in the first snakehead. It was actually for this purpose. The reason why Yi Wuxin and the other 3's faces were ugly was not because they had found their conscience. It was because the 6 snakeheads contained many elite experts from their factions. Now that Master Mu Feng had done this, their losses could be said to be extremely disastrous. It was a good thing that they had brought their core martial artists with them. Otherwise, if they lost their core martial artists, the forces they belonged to would really suffer a great loss. Are you very dissatisfied with my method? Master Mu Feng coldly snorted when he saw the ugly faces of Yi Wuxin and the others. We don't dare. Yi Wuxin and the others naturally would not speak carelessly. Master Mu Feng waved his hand and said, if I did not use this method of abandoning the pawn to protect the cart, I'm afraid that all of you would die. Are you sure that you can withstand the 1,000 demonic soldiers? Yi Wuxin and the others revealed a relieved expression when they heard this. Master Mu Feng was right. The 1,000 demonic soldiers were too terrifying. They were likely able to crush a 6th-level Emperor expert. Even a 7th-level Emperor expert might not be able to withstand the might of the 1,000 demonic soldiers. If they blindly faced such existences head-on, there was no doubt that they would die. Master Mu Feng has foresight. We have walked into a dead end. Yi Wuxin hurriedly said with a flattering smile. After hearing Grandmaster Mu Feng's explanation, the unhappiness in the hearts of Yi Wuxin and the others gradually disappeared. At the same time, their gazes landed on the palace world. This palace world had a total of 4 golden pillars that seemed to reach the sky. Each pillar towered into the clouds and supported the palace world, allowing the entire small world to stand stably within the tomb space. In this palace world, there are a total of 4 halls. Each golden pillar represents a hall. Master Mu Feng stood quietly at the center of the palace world, and after he surveyed the surroundings, he calmly analyzed the situation. Zhuowen's gaze also landed on the palace world. Just like what Master Mu Feng had said, there were indeed 4 majestic palaces under the 4 golden pillars that supported the palace world. Perhaps, it could be said that only these 4 majestic halls existed within the palace world. Moreover, the 4 halls were extremely far away from the central square of the palace world. Zhuowen estimated that it would take him several hours to reach any of the halls at his current speed. These 4 halls should belong to different categories. Should we move together or separately? Yi Wuxin suddenly asked in a deep voice. This will depend on everyone's wishes. After all, whether or not we can obtain any benefits here will depend on our own luck. Master Mu Feng laughed softly. Zhuowen of the demonic Dao took a step forward after these words were spoken. He led the Grand Devil Master, who was surging with demonic aura, and rushed towards the Eastern Hall without uttering a single word. Zhuowen of the demonic Dao's arrogant actions naturally caused everyone to frown. However, They also knew that demonic Tao cultivators were straightforward and did as they pleased. Therefore, they did not feel that it was strange for the demonic Tao's Zhuoan to do such an unconventional thing. Master Mu Feng, we plan to head to the Northern Hall. We will take our leave first. Chen Haixin and Tian Jueyar exchanged a look before cupping their hands together towards Master Mu Feng. Then, they led the remaining 2 people and rushed towards the Northern Hall. Very soon, they disappeared from everyone's sight. Although Chen Haixin and Tian Jueyar were the island masters of the Sea Heart Island and the Horizon Island, these 2 islands were the weakest of the 5 strongest islands. The 2 of them were also slightly weaker than Azura Lidi, Yi Wuxin, Mo Yang and Bai Yang. Therefore, the 2 of them had already formed an alliance before entering the Emperor Tomb. Only in this way would the 2 of them, who were originally in a weaker position, be able to obtain the greatest benefits in this Emperor Tomb. Yi Wuxin and the rest were naturally aware of Chen Haixin and Tian Jueyar's intentions. However, they did not expose them. Even if the 2 of them joined forces, Yi Wuxin and Azura Lidi did not care too much. After all, the 2 of them were above average amongst the intermediate DI stage. It might be a little difficult for Chen Haixin and Tian Jueyar to compete with them. I'll go to the East Palace too. Azura Lidi suddenly laughed sinisterly. He brought the other mid-level Great Emperor from Azura Island towards the Eastern Palace where Zhuo Wen of the demonic Tao had gone. Then I'll choose the south. Yu Qing, let's go. Yi Wuxin faintly smiled as he led Yi Yuqing towards the south. In an instant, only the people from the Divine Academy were left in the plaza. They were Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang, Bai Yu, and Master Mu Feng. Naturally, Zhuoan and Lu Hantian were also among them. However, their presence wasn't very strong. After all, Zhuoan was only at the peak of the Heavenly Venerable Realm, and Lu Hantian was only at the 3rd level of the Great Emperor Realm. To the upper echelons of the strongest island present, their presence was indeed very weak. Now, only the Western Palace is left. Let's go there together. Master Mu Feng faintly smiled. His gaze fell on Zhuoan, who was standing behind Mo Yang and Bai Yang. With a wave of his sleeve, he took the lead and rushed towards the west. Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang, and Bai Yang looked at each other in dismay. They also brought their own people and followed closely behind Master Mu Feng. This was an extremely magnificent palace. The entire palace, including the foundation, was carved from sparkling and translucent jade. It was filled with the aura of treasures and flowers. On the palace's door, there were 3 large words carved in flamboyant calligraphy. Zhuoan muttered in a low voice, "Treasure vault? Haha. Looks like our luck isn't bad. The palace that we've chosen is actually the treasure vault. There should be many good things hidden inside." Master Mu Feng said with a laugh. Master Mu Feng, what are the things inside? Elder Huaxia suddenly asked. There was a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Master Mu Feng was an arcane heavenly master. Perhaps he might not be a match for Elder Huaxia in a face-to-face fight. However, the former had many restrictions and formations. These things were enough to deal with a 6th-level emperor. If there were good things inside, they would definitely not be able to compete with Master Mu Feng. Master Mu Feng faintly smiled and said, "This treasure vault occupies an extremely vast area. It shouldn't be that easy to find treasures inside. Everything still depends on fate. I've already said before that if any of you are able to obtain any treasures, it will be your own fate. Naturally, I won't do something like snatch it by force." After hearing these words, Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang, and Bai Yang's eyes lit up. The tensed expression on their faces also relaxed. They were most afraid that Master Mu Feng would snatch it by force. After all, an arcane heavenly master was not someone that an ordinary emperor could deal with. "Let's go in and take a look." Master Mu Feng waved his sleeve. Surging mental energy gushed out and instantly destroyed the restrictions on the surface of the palace door. After which, the thick and heavy palace door opened to both sides, revealing a dark hall inside. After stepping into the hall, Zhuoan felt an ancient aura that filled the hall. This caused him to feel deep veneration. He knew that this hall had existed for a very long time. It was so long that he could only look up to it. At the same time, he also noticed that there were many corridors within the hall. There were many of them, and they extended to the deepest part of the hall. No one knew where these corridors led to, and what existed at the end of the corridors. Let's enter the center of the hall first. I can feel the existence of a formation within the hall. This formation will move strangely as we move within the hall. If we don't break this formation, I'm afraid that our chances of obtaining any treasures will be very low. Master Mu Feng took a few steps within the hall. His gaze became quite solemn. Let's go. Let's enter the center of the hall first. Immediately, Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang, and Bai Yang also agreed. Hence, the group followed behind Master Mu Feng. They walked along the corridors and headed towards the deepest part of the hall. Since Master Mu Feng was an array grandmaster, he did not get too lost in the tangled and complicated corridors of the hall. Although Zhuowen was also an arcane master, he was only at the initial 6th tier. There was a huge gap between him and an arcane heavenly master like Mu Feng. Therefore, if he was the one walking in the hall, he might get lost. However, Mu Feng would not. It should be here. Mu Feng's voice suddenly rang out. Immediately, the crowd behind him came to a halt, as their gazes landed in front of Mu Feng, only to see a spacious and empty hall. Within the hall, there was a jade-colored praying mat. That jade-colored praying mat quietly floated in the air, while a jade-colored glow slowly spread out. Appearing just like a million rays of light, it illuminated the dimly lit hall. If my guess is correct, this jade-colored praying mat should be the control center of this hall. Once I control this control center, I will be able to destroy the formation within the hall. At that time, I will be able to wantonly search for treasures within the hall. As he spoke, Master Mu Feng took a step into the hall. Immediately, he sat cross-legged on the jade-colored praying mat. At the same time, he waved his sleeve and set up a defensive restriction around his body. After which, he began to refine the jade-colored praying mat within the hall. Chapter 1253. Treasure Hunt. However, what Master Mu Feng said was reasonable. Although Zhuowen felt that something was wrong, Elder Huaxia, Mo Yang and Bai Yang did not sense anything. They only felt that Master Mu Feng's actions were very normal. Mu Feng is refining the entire treasure repository. Suddenly, Xiao Hei's voice appeared in Zhuowen's mind once again. This caused Zhuowen to frown slightly. Soon after, he asked anxiously, Xiao Hei, what happened to you earlier? Why didn't you respond when I called you? Xiao Hei muttered to herself for a while, before she said in a deep voice, just now, I felt a very loathsome aura above the gully. If I had transmitted my voice to you at that time, I would have immediately been locked onto by that aura. Therefore, I did not answer your question at that time. A very loathsome aura? Are you talking about the strange human figure that appeared briefly above the gully? Could that aura be emitted by that strange human figure? Zhuowen suddenly asked. It should be. However, that strange human figure did not reveal its true appearance. I am also unable to determine exactly what kind of creature it is. However, I can feel that it is very ominous. You should be careful, Xiao Hei said solemnly. Zhuowen's eyes flickered. However, he was quite shocked in his heart. Even Xiao Hei felt fear. Exactly what kind of existence was that strange human figure? However, after pondering for a while, Zhuowen gave up on this idea. Even Xiao Hei was unable to determine exactly what kind of creature it was. Therefore, even if he racked his brains, he would not be able to obtain an answer. Therefore, his gaze quickly landed on Master Mu Feng as he asked, Xiao Hei, you said that Master Mu Feng is refining the entire treasure repository? He said that he is refining this jade-colored praying mat to stop the formation restrictions in the treasure repository. However, Xiao Hei replied in an indifferent tone, this Mu Feng didn't say everything. He has refined the entire treasure trove palace, so he can naturally control the restrictions and formations within the treasure trove palace as he wishes. Wouldn't it be an extremely simple matter for him to make them stop? Zhuowen was stunned. Soon after, his eyes narrowed as he stared at Grandmaster Mu Feng's figure. He was somewhat puzzled as to why Grandmaster Mu Feng wanted to hide this matter from them. Isn't it to monopolize all the treasures in the treasure trove palace? Xiao Hei chuckled. Does he intend to take all the treasures in the treasure trove palace for himself? Zhuowen's expression immediately turned ugly. Xiao Hei replied with a sneer, that shouldn't be the case. Otherwise, it would be very easy for him to incur everyone's anger. That Mu Feng should be planning to hide the most important treasures in the treasure trove palace after taking control of it. As for the less important treasures, he will naturally leave them for you. Upon hearing this, Zhuowen frowned slightly. If what Xiao Hei had said was true, this Mu Feng was truly sinister. Although he wanted to expose this matter, he ultimately chose to remain silent when he recalled the respect that Elder Huaxie, Moyan, and Bai Yang had for Grandmaster Mu Feng. After all, if Elder Huaxie, Moyan, and Bai Yang suspected that Zhuowen had ulterior motives, Zhuowen might suffer a calamity. Although Zhuowen's fighting strength was very strong, it was simply not enough to face existences like Elder Huaxie, Moyan, and Bai Yang, let alone the even more terrifying Grandmaster Mu Feng. Brat. There is no need for you to be dispirited. When Mu Feng is done refining, this Dragon Lord will use my divine sense to help you. After Mu Feng takes control of the treasure trove palace, he will, at the very most, hide the most important treasures. Moreover, he might even hide them in an even more secretive manner. At that time, you can follow me and find those important treasures. Mu Feng will not be able to do anything to you. After all, it is your good fortune to be able to find them. He he. Xiao Hei laughed sinisterly. Upon hearing this, Zhuowen nodded his head. Soon after, he quietly waited for Grandmaster Mu Feng. A moment later, Grandmaster Mu Feng slowly opened his eyes. The corners of his mouth revealed a faint smile as he said, "The central area has already been refined by me. The restrictions and formations within the palace have basically been destroyed by me. Everyone can explore the treasure trove palace on their own. If you discover any treasures within, they will all belong to you." As his words rang out, Elder Huaxie, Mo Yang and Bai Yang revealed fiery expressions within their eyes. Soon after, they impatiently rushed towards the other corridors. Naturally, Bai Yu and the other 5 were not to be outdone. Although they had some small conflicts with Zhuowen, they truly did not have the time to bother about him within the treasure trove palace. Big brother Hantian, let's split up and search. This way, the chances of finding treasures will be higher. Zhuowen said to Lu Hantian, who was beside him. The two of them rushed towards different directions. As they passed through the corridors, Zhuowen discovered many sealed stone rooms. Continue walking in. This Dragon Lord has already used my divine sense to investigate. These stone rooms are all empty. Xiao Hei's indifferent voice rang out within Zhuowen's mind. Naturally, Zhuowen did not stop for even a moment as he passed through one stone room after another. After passing through 7 or 8 stone rooms, Xiao Hei suddenly exclaimed softly, "Stop. There are fluctuations of soul treasures on your left. Go in and take a look." Zhuowen's footsteps paused. Soon after, his right hand clenched into a fist as he ferociously smashed it against the stone door on his left. A terrifying power erupted, causing the stone door to shatter into pieces. Zhuowen took a step inside. These are all soul treasures. Stepping into the stone room, Zhuowen's entire body trembled. His gaze was startled as it landed on a rather large table in the middle of the stone room. On the table, there were various kinds of soul treasures. From the aura that these soul treasures gave off, they were actually all earthly soul treasures. Furthermore, they should be of good quality amongst the earthly soul treasures. These soul treasures included knives, spears, rods, long swords, large halberds, diamond rings, long needles, large hammers, long shuttles, porcelain bottles, horsetail whisks, luxurious clothes and many more. Zhuowen roughly estimated that the number of soul treasures on this large table was actually in the hundreds. Take all of them. Without another word, Zhuowen shook his sleeves. A wave of space energy spread out and all the soul treasures on the table were kept in his spirit ring. Although these soul treasures were all earthly soul treasures, they might not be of much use to Zhuowen. However, these hundreds of earthly soul treasures were not a small fortune. Furthermore, Zhuoan had established the Rika clan behind him. Although these earthly soul treasures might not be of use to him, they could definitely be used by the Rika clan. After all, the Rika clan needed to nurture talents. This required a lot of resources. Naturally, soul treasures were indispensable. After keeping the hundreds of earthly soul treasures on the table, Mu Feng, who was in the center of the treasure trove palace, frowned slightly. This was because he had sensed that someone had found the location of the treasure trove palace so quickly. However, fortunately, the treasures in the stone room were all earthly soul treasures. Mu Feng did not care too much about them. His main concern was the emperor weapons in the treasure trove palace. Although he controlled the treasure trove palace, he could only roughly know the location of the treasures hidden in the main hall. It was impossible for him to know who had taken the treasures. If he wanted to know, he had to personally go there to confirm the identity. After all, Hui Xie, Mo Yang, and Bai Yang are mid-level emperors. If they do not find any emperor weapons in the treasure trove palace, they will definitely be suspicious. It's better to release a few emperor weapons and hide the rest. I'll keep them after they've finished searching. Mu Feng's eyes flickered. After muttering to himself for a while, he began to adjust the control center. He hid the more important emperor weapons in more obscure places. Of course, he would still release some emperor weapons. However, the quality of these emperor weapons would not be too good. There are signs of the array in the hall faintly shaking. I'm afraid that Mu Feng is tampering with it. Brat, follow my instructions. This time, Mu Feng should be hiding some important treasures. We'll go against him and find all the hidden emperor weapons. Xiao Hei coldly smiled. Soon after, her divine sense swept out and instructed Zhuoan to head to the stone rooms in front of them. He specifically chose the secret room where Mu Feng was hiding. 3 low-level emperor weapons. Another 2 low-level emperor weapons. They're actually mid-level emperor weapons. Furthermore, they're attack-type mid-level emperor weapons. Zhuoan followed Xiao Hei's instructions. As he walked, he actually found 6 emperor weapons in less than 10 minutes. 5 of them were low-level emperor weapons and 1 was mid-level emperor weapon. Every single one of them emitted a dazzling brilliance. How is this possible? 6 emperor weapons have actually been found. Mu Feng suddenly opened his eyes in the hall of the treasure trove palace. His mouth turned into a circle as he muttered to himself in disbelief. Another 2 mid-level emperor weapons have been found. Who is it? Who exactly is it that has actually found my hidden emperor weapons so quickly? Mu Feng tightly clenched his fists, as his gaze turned increasingly dark and cold. Just a moment ago, he was still in high spirits, imagining the fruits of his labor in the treasure trove palace. However, someone had directly snatched the fruits of his labor. In an instant, 8 hidden emperor weapons had been found. This was no different from someone viciously slapping him in the face. Furthermore, the 2 high-level emperor weapons in the treasure trove palace are hidden in extremely well-hidden places. There shouldn't be anyone who can find them. Mu Feng calmed down the shock in his heart, before muttering to himself. The most precious items in the entire treasure trove palace were undoubtedly the 2 high-level emperor weapons. He had only discovered them after refining the entire treasure trove palace. At his level, only high-level emperor weapons could catch his eye. Naturally, mid-level emperor weapons were not cheap. If he had one, it would naturally be the icing on the cake. However, he did not really care if he did not have one. It was fine as long as the 2 high-level emperor weapons had not been found. Creak. Just as Mu Feng thought of this, he suddenly clenched his right hand, causing the crisp sound of bones cracking to ring out. That was because he could sense that one of the 2 high-level emperor weapons, hidden in the depths of the treasure trove palace, had been taken away by someone. Bastard! You've even found a high-level emperor weapon. Exactly who is it? Mu Feng roared out in a low voice, before smashing his fist furiously against the wall on his right. Terrifying power radiated out, causing the entire hall to violently shake. Countless shattered rocks fell from the ceiling of the hall. I have to find that bastard. I can't let him continue searching. Chapter 1254. Tiger head clear gold spear. In front of a rather hidden rock wall in the treasure hall, a figure stared blankly at the rock wall in front of him. At this moment, a hole that was dozens of meters wide had appeared on the rock wall in front of him. A large spear quietly stood within the hole. The body of the spear was made from mixed iron and steel. It was 10 feet long and 1 foot long. The spearhead was in the shape of a gilded tiger head. The tiger's mouth was made from white gold and it was incomparably sharp. Moreover, Zhuowen could faintly hear a trace of a tiger's roar from within the spear. It was as if an ancient ferocious tiger existed within the spear, and it was unstoppable. 5 seal characters were engraved on the surface of the gilded spear. Zhuowen stared at the 5 seal characters and muttered in a low voice, "Tiger head clear gold spear." Previously, upon hearing Xiao Hei's instructions, Zhuowen had smashed open the ordinary-looking rock wall in front of him with a punch. As a result, the tiger head clear gold spear had appeared before his eyes. However, what caused him to be stunned was the frightening emperor aura emitted from the tiger head clear gold spear, which actually caused his heart to tremble. This is a high-rank emperor weapon. It definitely is. Zhuowen's pupils shrunk slightly, while his stunned expression turned into a fiery one. He did not expect that such a powerful soul treasure like a high-rank emperor weapon would be hidden in such an inconspicuous place. "Kid, hurry up and keep it." Even though this is the treasure hall, high-rank emperor weapons are extremely rare. Now that you have obtained one of the high-rank soul treasures, Mu Feng will definitely sense it. "I'm afraid that fellow is already on his way here. Hurry up and keep it and run." Xiao Hei's voice suddenly rang out in Zhuowen's mind, causing the stunned Zhuowen to immediately wake up. Without further ado, he grasped the tiger head clear gold spear in his hand, took a step forward and immediately disappeared from the rock wall. Not long after Zhuowen left, a tall and imposing figure suddenly landed at this place. His gaze landed on the already empty rock wall, as his expression became extremely ugly. He muttered in a low voice, "Damn it, I'm a step too late. I'll be waiting at another spot. I want to see exactly who took away the 9 emperor weapons time and time again." After speaking, Mu Feng coldly snorted, before disappearing from this rock wall. He rushed towards the location of another emperor weapon, intending to wait. Zhuowen swiftly traversed through a corridor, while an excited smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. He did not expect that he would actually be able to obtain a high-rank emperor weapon so easily. To him, this was truly somewhat inconceivable. "The demonic slaughtering blade was given to my demonic avatar. My actual body just so happens to be lacking an offensive high-rank emperor weapon. This tiger head clear gold spear has arrived at the right time," Zhuowen said with a smile at the corners of his mouth. "You can refine this tiger head clear gold spear later. Let's continue searching. However, we have to be a little more cautious this time. Mu Feng already knows that a high-rank emperor weapon has been taken away. He should not be willing to let this matter rest. We cannot appear too shrewd, and should appear more normal." Xiao Hei continued. Zhuowen nodded his head. This time, he did not rely on Xiao Hei's spiritual sense. Instead, he relied on himself to explore the treasure trove palace. However, it had to be said that exploring the vast treasure trove palace by himself was an extremely difficult task. Furthermore, the efficiency was extremely low. Zhuowen had to blast open one secret chamber after another in order to find out if there were any treasures within. Furthermore, there were so many secret chambers within the treasure trove palace. Therefore, using this method was extremely time-consuming. The efficiency is really low. Zhuowen stood dispiritedly outside a stone chamber. For hours had already passed, yet he had not found anything. If he had the support of Xiao Hei's spiritual sense, he would probably be able to find quite a few treasures by now. However, Zhuowen also knew that Xiao Hei's spiritual sense would consume a lot of origin energy. Previously, he had already obtained quite a few good things. Naturally, he did not want to rely on Xiao Hei anymore. "Zhuowen." Suddenly, a voice came from behind Zhuowen. Shortly after, Zhuowen turned his head and saw Master Mu Feng's smiling face. Zhuowen's heart trembled. However, he maintained a calm expression on his face. He smiled and said, "Master Mu Feng, May I know what advice you have for me? Master Mu Feng took a deep look at Zhuowen. Then, he asked somewhat casually, did you find anything before this? Zhuowen was slightly dispirited as he said, it's difficult. There are too many secret chambers within the treasure trove palace. If you want to know what treasures are inside, you have to blast them open one by one. Moreover, the exterior of these stone chambers has the effect of shielding them from detection. Our ordinary spiritual sense is simply unable to detect what is inside. Master Mu Feng stared straight at Zhuowen. His eyes revealed a pondering expression. Suddenly, he smiled and said, you are right. However, there should be quite a few treasures within this treasure trove palace. You should be able to find some good things if you continue to search. Thank you for your kind words, Zhuowen said with a smile. Zhuowen, since you have cultivated my river diagram array, you can be considered as half a disciple of mine. How is your progress with the river diagram array? Master Mu Feng suddenly asked. Zhuowen nodded his head and said, I have a basic grasp of the river diagram array. Its might is also not bad. Of course, it is still incomparable to Master Mu Feng's. Okay, I will not delay your search for treasures. You can go by yourself. Master Mu Feng was expressionless as he waved his sleeves. Zhuowen cupped his hands once again. Soon after, he slowly retreated. Soon, he disappeared from Master Mu Feng's sight. Master Mu Feng silently looked at Zhuowen's back as he left. His eyes flickered and no one knew what he was thinking. When Zhuowen completely disappeared from his sight, he muttered in a low voice, it seems that the one who obtained the Emperor weapon so many times was not this Zhuowen. However, who was it? It would be safer for me to keep the remaining high-grade Emperor weapon. As he spoke, Grandmaster Mu Feng disappeared from the corridor. On the other side of the corridor, Zhuowen stopped in his tracks. His gaze turned gloomy. He knew that the reason why Grandmaster Mu Feng looked for him was because he was suspicious of him. Fortunately, Blackie had asked him to act normal. After all, given Grandmaster Mu Feng's strength, he would not be able to detect him if he quietly approached him. If he had relied on Xiao Hei's spiritual sense to search for treasures, he would have definitely exposed himself in front of Master Mu Feng. At that time, he would be in deep trouble. After Master Mu Feng left, Zhuowen no longer dared to use Xiao Hei's spiritual sense to search for treasures. After all, he had already found quite a number of spiritual treasures and was not in a hurry. In the following period of time, his luck was not bad and he found some earthly spiritual treasures. Therefore, he did not hesitate to keep them in his spirit ring. Half a day later, Master Mu Feng's communication jade talisman sent a message, asking them to gather at the central area of the treasure repository. Zhuowen naturally rushed to the central area's main hall without stopping. When Zhuowen arrived at the main hall, Elder Huaxie, Moyan, Bai Yang and the others were already waiting there. Even Lu Hantian had arrived before him. After entering the main hall, Zhuowen directly went to Lu Hantian's side. At the same time, he secretly transmitted a message, Big Brother Hantian, how was your harvest? The corners of Lu Hantian's mouth curled into a smile as he replied via sound transmission, there are indeed many treasures in this treasure trove palace. I found a lot of Earthstep spirit treasures and even a low-level Emperor weapon. However, compared to Elder Huaxie, Moyan and Bai Yang, my luck is pretty bad. Oh, could it be that they obtained mid-grade Emperor weapons? Zhuowen asked in astonishment. That's right, both of them obtained mid-tier monarch artifacts, Lu Hantian replied somewhat enviously. Zhuowen's gaze also fell on Elder Huaxie, Moyan and Bai Yang because of Lu Hantian's words. After seeing the smiles on their faces, he knew that Lu Hantian's information should be correct. Master Mu Feng, why did you call us here? Moyan and Bai Yang suddenly asked. Master Mu Feng's eyes flickered as he said, the fifth palace is about to appear. The fifth palace? Everyone's eyes narrowed, and they were filled with astonishment. If they guessed correctly, there were only 4 palaces in this palace world. Where did the fifth palace come from? The treasure repository was refined by me, and the other 3 palaces have also been successfully refined by others. When all 4 palaces have been refined, the fifth palace will appear. It is said that the fifth palace is the palace of the strongest expert in the imperial region. Master Mu Feng suddenly said. Rumble. Before Master Mu Feng could finish his words, a wave of intense tremors spread from afar. The entire treasure repository violently shook, and everyone standing in the central area was unable to stand steadily. Their hands and feet staggered, and they almost fell. What's happening? Moyan and Bai Yang knitted their brows and said with unease. The others' expressions were no different from Moyan and Bai Yang. Let's go. Let's go out and take a look. Master Mu Feng suddenly said. He took a step forward and rushed out of the treasure repository. Everyone looked at each other. Naturally, it was impossible for them to stay here alone, and they all followed closely behind. That's the fifth palace? When Master Mu Feng and the others arrived at the entrance of the treasure repository, they saw an incomparably huge palace slowly rising from the ground at the center of the palace world. This palace was dazzling in gold and jade, and it emitted a rainbow light. It looked extremely grand and magnificent. Let's go. Let's go and take a look. Without saying anything, Master Mu Feng directly rushed over, and Elder Huexi followed closely behind. Just as Moyan and Bai Yang were about to set off, Zhuowen pulled them back, causing the latter to frown and ask, "What's wrong, Zhuowen?" "Dean, I keep feeling that the central palace is a little strange. It's best for us to be careful." Zhuowen hesitated for a while, and suddenly said, "The Emperor Tomb is filled with danger, so I will naturally be careful. Let's gather there first." Moyan and Bai Yang said with a gentle smile. Very quickly, Master Mu Feng and the others arrived in front of the palace. At the same time, Chen Haishin and Tianju Ya from the north, demonic Dao Zhuowen and Azura Lidi from the east, and Yi Wuxin and the others from the south, all arrived and gathered around the fifth palace. "Hey, Azura Lidi, why are you in such a miserable state?" Yi Wuxin suddenly looked at Azura Lidi behind demonic Dao Zhuowen, and could not help but ask in surprise. Chapter 1255. The fifth palace. Azura Li Di's expression changed slightly when he heard Yi Wuxin's question. Immediately, he glared hatefully at Zhuowen's back and snorted coldly without saying anything. Yi Wuxin took a deep look at Zhuowen when he saw Azura Li Di's reaction. It seemed that Azura Li Di had suffered quite a lot of setbacks at the hands of this demonic youth in the Eastern Palace. At the same time, Yi Wuxin's gaze became somewhat cautious when he looked at Zhuowen. Although this person's cultivation was only at the third-level Demon Emperor level, his fighting strength was likely extraordinary. This could be seen from the fact that Azura Li Di had suffered a great loss at his hands. Grandmaster Mu Feng also glanced at the demonic youth in astonishment. He had naturally seen the expression in Azura Li Di's eyes. Azura Li Di should have been completely suppressed by this demonic youth in the Eastern Palace. "Everyone, may I know who has successfully refined the other three palace hubs?" Grandmaster Mu Feng suddenly asked with a smile. "The Southern Palace has been refined by me." Yi Wuxin replied with a smile. "The Northern Palace has been refined by me." Chen Haishin replied indifferently. "What about the Eastern Palace?" Grandmaster Mu Feng suddenly looked at Azura Li Di and Zhuowen as he asked with a smile. The gazes of the others also gathered over. Azura Li Di's miserable appearance was naturally seen by everyone. Therefore, it was very likely that the refiner of the Eastern Palace was not the Azura Li Di that everyone thought highly of. "I have refined it." Demonic Zhuowen replied indifferently. Indeed, when Zhuowen of the demonic Dao said this, everyone's eyes revealed a look of understanding. Soon after, everyone's eyes were dyed with a tinge of fear. To be able to suppress Azura Li Di to the point that he was unable to do anything, this demonic Dao youth's strength was likely extremely terrifying. Heroes really come from the youth. Mo Wen, you are still young, but you are actually able to successfully refine a palace. That is rare and commendable. Grandmaster Mu Feng nodded and casually said some polite words. However, Azura Lidi's words were exceptionally ironic. After all, he should be the one to refine the Eastern Palace. However, he didn't expect the strength of the demonic youth in front of him to be so terrifying. When he was fighting for the control of the central control of the palace, He was actually defeated by him. Grandmaster, you flatter me. I was just lucky to be able to refine the Eastern Palace. Devil Dao cultivator Zhuoan faintly smiled. In his heart, he was secretly happy. The Eastern Palace was the Spirit Medicine Palace. There were all kinds of spirit herbs planted there, and among them, there was no lack of 7th-grade spirit herbs. After refining the Spirit Medicine Palace, all the spirit herbs inside would be under Zhuoan's control. This was a huge fortune. If Zhuoan's estimation was correct, all the herbs in the spiritual elixir hall could be used to nurture hundreds or thousands of 4 venerables, close to 100 celestial venerables, and more than 10 Emperor Realm cultivators. Rika needed these herbs very much, so Zhuoan was very excited. On the other hand, Mu Feng only smiled. If he really believed that the demonic youth had obtained the right to refine the Eastern Palace by luck, then he would really be a fool. Grandmaster Mu Feng, what is this 5th palace that suddenly appeared? Yi Wuxin suddenly asked. Grandmaster Mu Feng didn't hide anything and said indifferently, if I'm not wrong, this 5th palace should be the palace of the strongest expert of the sovereign domain. After all, this is the core of the sovereign tomb. It's impossible for the strongest expert of the sovereign domain not to build a palace for himself. Is it a palace? Could it be that the inheritance of the strongest expert of the sovereign domain is inside? Elder Huaxie suddenly interjected. His eyes were burning with passion. Ordinary Emperor Realm cultivators were nothing to them. However, a half-step Saint Realm cultivator was above the Emperor Realm. The inheritance left behind by a half-step Saint Realm cultivator was enough to tempt everyone present. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not very sure. Grandmaster Mu Feng shook his head and said, I'll first check the palace's door and see if there's any way to open it. Grandmaster Mu Feng said as he slowly walked towards the palace's door. His eyes quietly examined the door before him. There was a misty light barrier in front of the palace's door. The light barrier emitted multicolored flowing lights, like multicolored bubbles. It looked rather resplendent. Everyone silently looked at Grandmaster Mu Feng's actions. He waved his sleeve and a terrifying mental energy instantly gushed out. Soon after, Grandmaster Mu Feng's right hand repeatedly pointed at the void. Unexpectedly, 7 dots of light appeared in the sky above him. They were like the Big Dipper in the night sky. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Shortly after, the multicolored flowing light barrier in front of the palace's door was broken open, revealing the ancient palace's door behind it. There was a huge groove in the palace's door that was tightly shut. How do we open the palace's door? Yi Wuxin came to Grandmaster Mu Feng's side and asked with a frown. This 5th palace appeared after the palaces at the 4 corners were refined. Perhaps the method to open the doors of this palace has something to do with the central key of the palaces. The Western Palace I'm in is the Treasure Trove Palace. The central key is this jade-colored praying mat. Take out yours as well. Perhaps you can try to open the doors of this palace. Grandmaster Mu Feng continued. Chen Haixin, Yi Wuxin, and Zhuo Wen of the demonic Dao looked at each other with hesitation on their faces. Their respective keys were used to control their respective palaces and were extremely important items to them. They were truly hesitant to take out their keys at this moment. If the 3 of you aren't willing, I won't force you. After all, the central key is something that the 3 of you have obtained. However, I'm afraid that there's no other way to enter the 5th palace. Grandmaster Mu Feng said with a smile. Yi Wuxin's eyes flickered. He took out a jade-colored longsword and said, The palace I'm entering is the 100-weapon hall. This jade sword is the central key of the 100-weapon hall. Grandmaster Mu Feng nodded. With a wave of his sleeve, the jade-colored longsword returned to his palm. His gaze fell on Chen Haixin and demonic Dao Zhuoan. He said indifferently, How long are the 2 of you going to hesitate? You should have seen the treasures in the 4 great palaces. The 5th palace is even more majestic and powerful than the 4 great palaces. The treasures inside will only be better and more numerous. What is there to hesitate about? Brother Chen, Grandmaster Mu Feng is right. The treasures in the 5th palace will only be more powerful and precious than the other 4 great palaces. There's nothing to hesitate about. Tian Jueya, who was beside Chen Haishan, suddenly advised. The two of them had already formed an alliance. Before entering the 100-weapon hall, the two of them had already agreed to split the treasures in the 100-weapon hall 50-50. Therefore, it didn't matter who refined the central key. Chen Haishan nodded. He also took out a jade-colored book from his sleeve and said, "The palace we're in is called the Skills Method Hall. Everything inside is Skills Method Hall. This jade-colored book is the central key of the Skills Method Hall." After keeping the jade-colored book, the smile on Grandmaster Mu Feng's face grew even wider. Soon after, his gaze shifted slightly. In the end, it landed on demonic Dao Zhuowen as he waited for the latter's reply. The gazes of the others also landed on demonic Dao Zhuowen. They were all waiting for demonic Dao Zhuowen to hand over the central key. At that time, they would be able to open the fifth palace and enter it to obtain even better treasures. Demonic Dao Zhuowen looked at Grandmaster Mu Feng, whose eyes were filled with fanaticism. His eyebrows slightly knitted together as he said, "The palace in the east is called the Spiritual Elixir Palace. There are various kinds of spiritual elixirs inside. The central key I obtained is this jade-colored spiritual grass." After saying that, Zhuowen waved his sleeve and took out a jade-colored spiritual grass. His indifferent voice slowly resounded. "Since that's the case, hurry up and hand it over. The sooner we open the fifth palace, the sooner everyone will be able to obtain the final opportunity. At that time, everyone will be happy." The smile on Grandmaster Mu Feng's face grew even wider. The fanaticism in his eyes also became even deeper. Seeing Grandmaster Mu Feng's appearance, demonic Dao Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, "Let me think about it." Grandmaster Mu Feng's expression turned sluggish. Soon after, he said in a deep voice, "What's there to think about? The fifth palace is right in front of us. By saying this, don't tell me you don't intend to gather the central key and enter the palace to search for treasures." Yi Wuxin, Chen Haishan, and the rest also looked at demonic Dao Zhuowen in astonishment. Clearly, they didn't understand why the latter didn't hand over the fourth central key. After all, if they gathered all four keys, they would be able to open the fifth palace. Everyone could enter together and see their own opportunities. Demonic Dao Zhuowen smiled and said, "Because I don't really trust you." When these words came out, the surrounding atmosphere immediately froze. Grandmaster Mu Feng was stunned. Even the people behind Grandmaster Mu Feng were stunned. They clearly didn't expect that the demonic Dao youth in front of them would actually say such shocking words. "Oh, you don't trust me? All right, I won't force you." Grandmaster Mu Feng's eyes flickered and he suddenly said cheerfully, "Grandmaster Mu Feng, how can you just let it go like this? After gathering all four keys, we will be able to open the fifth palace. How can you just let it go because of this fellow? In my opinion, we should just snatch the fourth key from this fellow. There's no need to reason with this fellow." Yi Wuxin coldly snorted and said with an extremely unfriendly gaze. Grandmaster Mu Feng shook his head and said hypocritically, "I said just now that I won't force you to hand over the central key. Since Mo Wen doesn't want to hand it over, I won't force you either. Grandmaster Mu Feng, we know that you won't force us. However, we can force you. I must enter the fifth palace, and I will kill anyone who tries to stop me. A mere third heaven demon emperor dares to be arrogant in front of me. Let's see if you will hand over the central key after I capture you." Yi Wuxin coldly smiled and took a step forward. Demonic energy surged out and the pale green color in his eyes became even more intense. He looked extremely terrifying. Boom! A terrifying demonic energy came crushing down and formed a huge demonic palm in the air. It was like a mountain falling down. Chapter 1256. Turning hostile, Zhuowen of the demonic Dao coldly snorted and straightened his back. Rolling demonic clouds soared into the sky, and he also blasted out a palm. Endless extreme demonic battle chi gathered in the air, turning into a huge demonic hand that also blasted towards the huge demonic palm. In the void, the palms collided. Suddenly, a terrifying gale swept out, and countless cracks appeared in the surrounding space. The aftermath of the collision between the two was actually so terrifying. The collision of the palms only lasted for a moment before it was completely annihilated. Zhuowen of the demonic Dao and Yi Wuxin both retreated several steps. Yi Wuxin retreated 4 or 5 steps, while Zhuowen of the demonic Dao retreated 7 or 8 steps. It was obvious that Zhuowen of the demonic Dao was at a disadvantage in this confrontation. A 4th-layer demon emperor's battle prowess is indeed extraordinary. Zhuowen of the demonic Dao frowned and muttered in a low voice. Yi Wuxin's eyes narrowed. He was also a little surprised by Zhuowen of the demonic Dao's strength. He coldly snorted and rushed out again. At the same time, he said to the people behind him, Azura of the Earth, Chen Haixin, Tian Juia, Elder Huexi, Mo Yang, and Bai Yang, what are you still standing there for? Don't you want to enter the 5th palace? This is a good opportunity. Hurry up and lend me a hand to take down this kid. I've long been displeased with this demonic Dao youth. Since Brother Wuxin has invited me, I'll lend you a hand. Azura of the Earth sneered. He took a step forward and attacked Zhuowen of the demonic Dao from behind. Billowing blood-colored energy gushed out from his body, forming an extremely thick blood-colored armor on the surface of his body. At the same time, a large jade-colored bow had appeared in his right hand. It was the mid-grade Emperor artifact, the Jade Fate Bow, that he had obtained in the Azura Island auction. Die. He pulled back the bowstring with his right hand, drawing the Jade Fate Bow into a full moon. Then, he loosened his fingers and 3 jade-colored arrows shot through the air, flying towards the back of the demonic cultivator Zhuowen. Sharp whistling sounds filled the air, causing the surrounding air to tremble. Demonic Zhuowen's eyes sank and the slaughtering devil saber appeared in his hand. With a twist of his waist, the slaughtering devil saber spun along his side and ruthlessly slashed at the 3 arrows. With muffled bangs, the 3 arrows were directly annihilated by the slaughtering devil saber. The instant Azura made his move, Chen Haixin and Tian Juia exchanged glances. Although they did not say anything, the two of them rushed out at the same time. Powerful Emperor's aura spread out and directly surrounded Zhuowen. Elder, let's make a move too. Bai Yu's eyes lit up as he spoke to Elder Huaxie, who was standing beside him. Back in the temple, he had been defeated by this demonic youth in front of everyone. Even the heart of imperial power had been snatched away by him. This matter was extremely humiliating for him. Therefore, when Yi Wuxin attacked Zhuowen, he was ready to make a move. He planned to use everyone's strength to kill demonic Zhuowen in one fell swoop. Although Bai Yu was a junior, he was still a 4th-layer martial emperor. In terms of battle strength, although he was not as strong as Yi Wuxin and Azura, he was on par with Sea Heart Island's Island Lord Chen Haixin and Sky Edge Island's Island Lord Tian Juia. You should make a move. The few of you should be enough to take him down. After all, he is only a 3rd-layer demon emperor. Elder Huaxie shook his head. He was considered the strongest in this group. His cultivation was close to the 6th-layer martial emperor realm. Naturally, he disdained to join forces with others to deal with cultivators weaker than him. He had his own dignity. Bai Yu was startled, but he soon understood Elder Huaxie's thoughts. He nodded and stepped forward, joining the battle between Yi Wuxin and Azura. Taimo, block Yi Wuxin and Azura for me. Demonic Zhuowen's eyes were filled with chilliness when he saw Chen Haixin, Tian Juia and Bai Yu rushing over. He called out to Taimo Lord, who was not far away, and hurriedly retreated. Let's see where you're going. Yi Wuxin and Azura standing ground narrowed their eyes and shouted. With surging power, they chased after the retreating Zhuowen. But very soon, a demonic cloud even more terrifying than Zhuowen's appeared in front of them, blocking their path. At the same time, Yi Wuxin and Azura Lidi saw a hunchbacked old man shrouded in demonic aura slowly walk out of the demonic clouds. If you want to chase after my master, you'll have to pass through me first. Taimo Lord glanced indifferently at Yi Wuxin and Azura. Demonic chi surged from his body, and his battle-intent soared. You're also a 3rd-level demon emperor? HMPH, you want to stop us? What wishful thinking. Yi Wuxin and Azura glanced at each other. They did not pay too much attention to the old man. The demonic youth, who was also a third-level demon emperor, could only retreat under their attacks. Now that a third-level demon emperor had appeared, the two of them naturally did not pay too much attention to him. However, the two of them were wrong. Taimo Lord was once a high-level demon emperor. Although his cultivation had fallen to his current level due to various reasons, he was still much stronger than Zhuowen, who was a third-level demon emperor. After all, as a former high-level demon emperor, the power that Taimo Lord could use was much stronger than ordinary third-level demon emperors. Boom! 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 The moment Taimo Lord unleashed his power, Yi Wuxin and Azura's expressions changed slightly. They could sense that the aura from this ordinary-looking old man was actually much stronger than the demonic youth. So powerful. Yi Wuxin and Azura glanced at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Afterwards, the two of them shot out at the same time. Their speed soared to the limit, and they flanked Taimo Lord from both sides. Yi Wuxin wielded the snake-shaped halberd, while Azura wielded the jade fate bow. Terrifying energy enveloped Taimo Lord with a sharp momentum. Taimo Lord sucked in a deep breath. He clenched his hands, and two halberds immediately appeared. He swung his arms, enveloped in demonic chi. Bang! Bang! The terrifying snake-shaped halberd and the sharp jade-colored arrow tore through the air and heavily collided with the two halberds. Soon after, the sound of metal clashing rang out. Taimo Lord frowned slightly. The halberds in his hands showed signs of cracking and becoming unstable under the attacks of the two halberds. However, Taimo Lord was the creator of the Taimo battle art after all. His usage of the Taimo battle art and Taimo battle chi was not something that Zhuowen could compare with. Shatter! Yi Wuxin bellowed out. The halberd shone with green light and turned into an extremely nimble, green python. Its thick jaws bit down on the halberd, and with a crack, the halberd shattered. The huge python shot towards the Grand Fiend Lord's chest, aiming for his vital point. The Grand Devil Master let out a cold snort. He took a step forward and agilely dodged the python's attack. At the same time, he clenched his empty left hand and another Grand Devil halberd appeared in his palm. He raised it above his head and suddenly swung it downwards, causing the green python to continuously withdraw. He swung his right hand, and the three jade-colored arrows on the other halberd were directly destroyed. Boom! 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 In just an instant, Taimo Lord became embroiled in a great battle with Yi Wuxin and Azura Li Di. What was even more shocking was that Taimo Lord was a third-level demon emperor, but he was not at a disadvantage at all against a fourth-level demon emperor and Azura Li Di, who was a peak fourth-level demon emperor. This caused many people to raise their eyebrows towards Taimo Lord. Not far away, Elder Huaxia frowned and muttered to himself, "This old fellow is the servant of that demonic youth. He's really strong." Moreover, he could faintly sense that the power displayed by the Grand Demon Lord made even him feel a little apprehensive. It was as if he was facing a superior existence. He had once felt this feeling from a high-level great emperor. Although it was a subtle feeling, he could still sense it with his keen senses. Swoosh! Swoosh! Bai Yu, Chen Haixin, and Tian Juiyao arrived before Zhuowen the moment Taimo Lord clashed with Yi Wuxin and Azura Li Di. Among them, Bai Yu's eyes were filled with viciousness. He chuckled coldly, "Mo Wen, to think that you would have a day like this too. You really made me miserable back then. You actually used despicable methods to steal the heart of imperial power from me." Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and glanced at Bai Yu indifferently. He said indifferently, "You're saying that I used despicable methods to steal the heart of imperial power from you?" Zhuowen sneered when he reached there. Afterwards, he took out a heart of imperial power from his spirit ring and stared at Bai Yu provocatively. "Since you've said that, I'll give you a chance. The heart of imperial power is in my hands. You can take it from me at any time. This time, you can take it from me openly." Upon hearing these words, Bai Yu's expression changed slightly. At the same time, he noticed that Chen Haixin and Tian Juiyao were not in a hurry to deal with Zhuowen. This caused him to involuntarily curse in his heart. He was very clear about how strong Zhuowen of the demonic Dao was. In a one-on-one fight, he was absolutely no match for Zhuowen. Only by borrowing the strength of Chen Haishan and Tian Jueya did he dare to take action against Zhuo Wen of the demonic Dao. What? You don't dare to take it from me? You don't even dare to take it from me, a despicable person who used despicable methods to steal your heart of imperial power. You're pretty broad-minded, aren't you? Zhuo Wen sneered as he held the heart of imperial power in his right hand. With that, Bai Yu's face alternated between red and white. However, he still did not dare to take on Zhuo Wen alone. It looks like you plan on working with Chen Haishan and Tian Jueya to deal with me, right? Since you don't dare to face me alone, the three of you can come together, Zhuo Wen said meaningfully. Island Masters, let's attack together and take down this child as soon as possible. Bai Yu sternly shouted and said to Chen Haishan and Tian Jueya who were beside him. Chapter 1257. Breaking the enemy. Let's attack together. Otherwise, something unexpected might happen. Chen Haishan and Tian Jueya naturally did not oppose Bai Yu's suggestion. Two terrifying emperor auras erupted and rushed towards Zhuo Wen. Bai Yu followed closely behind, holding the flowing feather halberd in his hand. Countless energy feathers revolved around his body like a whirlwind, looking extremely frightening. Chen Haishan held a black staff. The surface of the staff was like a rock, full of bumps and dents. It looked extremely unremarkable. However, the aura emitted from the surface of the stone staff was extremely powerful. It was as if Chen Haishan was not holding a staff, but a mountain. On the other hand, Tian Jueya took out a heavy sword. The sword was several meters long and several feet wide. The pitch-black body of the sword seemed to give off a heavy feeling. If one looked closely, there were strands of black air waves lingering on the surface of the heavy sword. A viscous water vapor spurted out, causing the surrounding air to become extremely moist. Chen Haishan took out the mountain staff. That's a mid-rank emperor artifact. It can be considered as the treasure of the Sea Heart Island. Moyan and Bai Yang said in astonishment. Tian Jueya is also not bad. The black wave heavy sword in his hand is also extremely famous. Its power is also not weak. Elder Huaxie said indifferently. Because Zhuo Wen had changed his appearance, Elder Huaxie, Moyan, and Bai Yang were unable to recognize him. In addition, demonic Dao Zhuo Wen's origin was mysterious. Naturally, the two of them would not lend a hand. They could only watch the show. Zhuo Wen, who was standing behind Moyan and Bai Yang, frowned slightly. His gaze first landed on the demonic Dao avatar in the distance. Soon after, he looked behind Master Mu Feng. Just a moment ago, Master Mu Feng was extremely eager for the fourth key in the demonic Dao avatar's hand. Yi Shiwen could feel the burning desire in Master Mu Feng's eyes. He could not wait to snatch the key from Yi Shiwen's hand. However, Grandmaster Mu Feng did not do so. Instead, he said some ambiguous words. After which, Yi Wuxin took action. Zhuo Wen was very clear that if Grandmaster Mu Feng had taken action, regardless of how powerful the demonic clone was, it would have been completely suppressed by him. However, Grandmaster Mu Feng did not do so. At this moment, Master Mu Feng was silently sitting cross-legged on the ground. His eyes narrowed, he did not pay attention to the battle between Yi Wuxin and the rest. Instead, his mind was wandering. What is Mu Feng doing? Zhuo Wen increasingly felt that Grandmaster Mu Feng was not ordinary. He frowned slightly because he could faintly feel that Grandmaster Mu Feng's current state was as if he was communicating with someone through voice transmission. Let's go take a look. Zhuo Wen's eyes flickered as he approached Grandmaster Mu Feng step by step. However, when he was about 5 meters away from Grandmaster Mu Feng, a formless and transparent ripple spread out in all directions. A defensive barrier. When did you set it? When? Feeling the obstruction in front of him, Zhuo Wen's eyes narrowed. He could not help but stop his footsteps. He quietly looked at Mu Feng's figure, who was within the transparent barrier. Perhaps Master Mu Feng had sensed that someone had touched the barrier. Master Mu Feng's eyes slightly moved. Soon after, he slowly opened his eyes. Turning his head, he coldly stared at Zhuo Wen and said, "Zhuo Wen? What's the matter?" Seeing the cold light in Master Mu Feng's eyes, Zhuowen felt a chill in his heart. Soon after, he dryly laughed and said, "Just now, I was too engrossed in watching the battle. Therefore, I accidentally walked over. Master, I did not do it on purpose." However, what was Master Mu Feng doing just now? Deeply looking at Zhuowen, Mu Feng suddenly laughed and said, "Yes, it's nothing. Just now, I had a slight comprehension. Therefore, I closed my eyes and tried to comprehend it. As for this barrier, it's just a habit of mine. Ha ha." With that, Mu Feng waved his sleeve and put away the invisible barrier in the surroundings. He calmly looked at the battle ahead. The Grand Demonic Lord was locked in battle with Yi Wuxin and Azura Lidi. Moreover, from the situation of the battle, although the Grand Demonic Lord was suppressed, there was still a certain gap between Yi Wuxin and Azura Lidi if they wanted to defeat the Grand Demonic Lord completely. As for Bai Yu, Chen Haixin, and Tian Jueya, an extremely terrifying shockwave erupted as soon as they came into contact with Zhuowen. The shockwave was extremely terrifying and powerful. It actually caused countless cracks to appear in the surrounding space. Gusts of wind appeared from the cracks. It was an extremely frightening sight. "Island Masters, we can't hold back any longer. Let's use our full strength and take him down." Bai Yu frowned slightly when he saw that the three of them were unable to take down Zhuowen. A trace of viciousness flashed through his eyes as he spoke to Chen Haixin and Tian Jueya. With regards to Bai Yu's commanding tone, Chen Haixin and Tian Jueya subconsciously furrowed their brows. However, Bai Yu was after all a genius from the inner academy of the Jioshan Academy. Furthermore, he had the support of the powerful elder Huaxie. Hence, they did not dare to say anything. "Brother Chen, let's use our full strength to finish off this child." Tian Jueya suddenly turned his head and said to Chen Haixin, "That's right. Continuing to drag this out is not a solution. After all, the situation might change if we delay. We need to finish him off as soon as possible." Naturally, Chen Haixin would not reject Tian Jueya's suggestion. Taking a step forward, the long rod in his hand instantly expanded rapidly, extending from 10 feet to several hundred feet. Above the huge long rod, an illusionary image of a mountain that covered the sky appeared. Clearly, the illusionary image of the mountain should be Chen Haixin's armor soul. Mountain God's Descent. When Chen Haixin used his full strength, Tian Jueya and Bai Yu also used their strongest attacks. At the same time, they also used their armor souls to boost their fighting strength to the peak. Black Wave Gale. Falling Light Feather. At the instant when the huge mountain descended, a monstrous black wave gushed out from the void. Above the black wave, a violent hurricane swept out. At the same time, a huge light feather descended from the sky. 3 powerful attacks with different concepts came crashing down, forming a terrifying might that completely enveloped Zhuowen's tiny figure. The demonic path Zhuowen slowly raised his head and looked at the mountain, the black waves, and the feather of light. Wild winds howled past, causing his strange black and red hair to wildly dance in the wind. A demonic intent rushed out from his eyes. His spine didn't bend because of the 3 terrifying attacks, but instead stood straight and straight, like a pine or cypress, like a green bamboo, like a mountain peak that would never fall. Die. Bai Yu's eyes were filled with ruthlessness and joy. He did not believe that the demonic youth could withstand the joint attack of 3 Fourth Heaven Emperor Realm experts. He felt that the demonic youth would definitely die. Zhuowen of the demonic path slowly drew out the demonic blade of slaughter. With a boom, a muffled thunderous explosion sounded from within his body. Shortly after, he bent his right wrist and fiercely slashed out. Abstinence, everything in the world, abstinence, nothing is indefinite. The slaughtering demonic saber swept out and a terrifying space ultimacy emanated from it. At the same time, 2 words slowly appeared in the void. They were the words abstinence and fix. The 2 words were like meteors and firmly blocked the 3 attacks. Hiss. A slight hissing sound came out. Shortly after, the 3 terrifying attacks were completely stopped in front of the 2 words. It was as if time had stopped at this moment. What? It's this move again. It actually managed to stop the combined attack of the 3 of us. Bai Yu, Chen Haixin and Tian Jueya looked at each other. They were able to see the shock in each other's eyes. The demonic Dao Zhuo Wen's current move, abstinence, had been used by him when he faced the leader of the demon soldiers. At that time, they were extremely afraid of this move. However, they did not pay much attention to it. But now, the abstinence move was able to stop the 3 illusory attacks. This made Bai Yu and the other 2 unable to remain calm. The moment he stopped the 3 attacks, Zhuo Wen of Diabolism moved again. His feet suddenly stepped out, and a thunderous sound erupted in the air. Then, his figure flashed out like a ghost. Not good. This guy is starting to attack. Seeing Zhuo Wen, Bai Yu and the other 2's faces changed drastically. Their emperor weapons were all stopped in the void by abstinence. Moreover, the 3 of them had just used their strongest attack and were at the point where their strength was exhausted. It would be difficult for them to withstand the attack. Die. Zhuo Wen of the demonic Dao arrived in front of the 3 in an instant. He spun the demonic slaughter blade in his hand and slashed out horizontally. The terrifying blade Qi swept across the void, almost crossing the horizon as it ruthlessly pressed down on the 3. Not good. Let's block it together. Bai Yu yelled out as he raised both of his hands. A surge of essence energy gushed out. Chen Haixin and Tian Jueya did the same. The 3 of them formed a thick essence energy shield above them. Bang! The blade aura descended and slammed against the shield. Immediately, a dull explosion sounded. The shield shook violently and completely shattered into countless pieces. The blade aura did not decrease and continued to sink. Run! The 3 of them spat out a mouthful of blood and immediately separated. They retreated in 3 different directions. Zhuo Wen's eyes were sharp. He took a step forward and chased after Bai Yu. Damn it! Why is this guy chasing after me? Looking at the demonic path Zhuo Wen behind him, White Feather nearly cursed out in his heart. There were clearly 3 people, but this Zhuo Wen had chosen him. How could he not be depressed? Bai Yu. Elder Huaxie's expression changed slightly. He had not expected that the 3 4th-level Emperor Realm cultivators would not be able to defeat the demonic youth. This guy's combat strength was a little too terrifying. Elder Huaxie, save me. Feeling Zhuo Wen behind him getting closer and closer, Bai Yu could not help but protrude his eyes. He could not care less about his pride and hurriedly cried for help from Elder Huaxie. Chapter 1258. Strange Black Qi Rumble. White Feather fell to the ground. Demonic Path's Zhuo Wen raised his knees and fell from the sky. Finally, he landed in front of the hole where White Feather was. He stepped on White Feather's chest, causing White Feather, who was about to get up, to once again come into close contact with the ground. Bastard, you actually dare to touch a genius of our inner courtyard. I see that you've lost your patience. Elder Huaxie's eyes were cold. He took a step forward, and a terrifying emperor aura filled the entire space like a vast ocean, causing demonic Zhuo Wen's expression to change drastically. Elder Huaxie could be considered the strongest amongst the group. His cultivation had almost reached the peak of the 5th Heaven Emperor Realm, and was extremely close to the 6th Heaven Emperor Realm. Regardless of whether it was Demon Emperor Yi Wuxin or Dean Moyan Bai Yang, they were all extremely fearful and respectful of Elder Huaxie. Die. With a low roar, Elder Huaxie took a step forward, instantly arriving in front of Zhuo Wen. Yuan power poured out from his withered palm, causing the surrounding air to freeze. Feeling the terrifying aura from Elder Huaxie's palm, demonic Zhuo Wen's expression changed drastically. He grabbed the unlucky Bai Yu with his right hand and said indifferently, "Bai Yu is in my hands right now. Do you want him to die?" Sure enough, Elder Huaxie's footsteps came to a sudden halt. His eyes flickered, and his expression was extremely ugly. He said in a low voice, "You're too daring. Do you know that we're from the divine Nether Realm's auspicious god inner courtyard? You dare to kidnap Bai Yu? Are you tired of living?" Demonic Zhuo Wen coldly smiled and said, "All I know now is that if I let Bai Yu go, I'm afraid that I won't be able to continue living. I'll give you a chance. Let Bai Yu go and hand over the 4th key, and we won't pursue your actions just now. How about it?" Elder Huaxia's eyes flickered as he said indifferently. Demonic. Zhuowen laughed. His gaze swept past Elder Huaxia and landed on Mufeng behind him. He said, "Is the fifth palace really the palace of the strongest expert of the imperial region?" Mufeng's eyes flickered as he calmly replied, "Naturally. I have no reason to lie to you. According to my knowledge, Master Mufeng, this seems to be the first time you've entered the Emperor's tomb, right? Why do you know so much about the Emperor's tomb? Then, why are you so sure that the fifth palace is the palace of the strongest expert in the imperial region?" Zhuowen of the Devil Dao stared fixedly at Mufeng as he voiced the doubts in his heart. All along, Mufeng had displayed that he knew the Emperor's tomb like the back of his hand. That was why when Mufeng proposed to gather the 4 keys to open the fifth palace, he chose not to hand it over. That was because he did not trust Mufeng. With that, Elder Huaxia and the others returned to their senses. At the same time, Yi Wuxin and Azura Lidi stopped fighting the Grand Demon Lord and looked at Mufeng. When Zhuowen of the demonic path said this, they truly felt that something was wrong. Mufeng's display of foresight was truly strange. It was as if he had entered the Emperor's tomb a long time ago, and his understanding of this place was far greater than everyone else's. Haha. How laughable. I'm an Arcana Heavenly Master, and I have the ability to divine. It's not difficult for me to know a few key points. Are you saying that you suspect my intentions are impure? Then tell me, if my intentions were impure, would I have brought you to the core region? Master Mufeng's expression did not change. Once these words were spoken, the doubtful looks in the eyes of Hui Xie and the others immediately disappeared. What Mufeng had said was right. If he truly had an impure intention, he wouldn't have brought them to this palace world. After all, everyone had found quite a number of good things in this palace world. Those were indeed real benefits. Hand over the 4th key, and we can let bygones be bygones. Elder Huaxia returned to his senses and indifferently stared at Zhuowen of the Devil Dao. Standing behind Moyan and Bai Yang, Zhuowen's main body and Lu Hantian's expressions became somewhat unsightly. Now, it could be said that Zhuowen of the Devil Dao was riding a tiger and could not back down. Elder Huaxia alone gave the Devil Dao clone an extremely great sense of pressure, not to mention Yi Wuxin and the others who were still eyeing him covetously. "Zhuowen, what should we do?" Lu Hantian somewhat trembled with fear as he transmitted his voice. Zhuowen's main body's eyes flickered, and his mood sank to the bottom. Fortunately, he had Bai Yu as a bargaining chip in his hand, so he could still negotiate with Elder Huaxia. "Big Brother Hantian, if something really happens later, immediately take out the Yuan Qi pagoda and enter it. Leave the rest to me." Zhuowen transmitted his voice back. "Zhuowen, can you really do it? There are so many experts here, Lu Hantian somewhat hesitantly said. "Don't worry, I still have the Devil Dao clone. In addition to some of my trump cards, I still have some confidence." Zhuowen replied. Lu Hantian's eyes flickered. He also knew that Zhuowen was right. His main body's battle strength was already very terrifying, and in addition to the Devil Dao clone, Zhuowen's strength was much greater than his own. If they really fought, a third-layer Great Emperor like him would actually be a burden. Since that's the case, be careful when the time comes. Lu Hantian said very cautiously, and no longer transmitted his voice. Instead, he silently watched the battle. At this moment, the atmosphere became extremely heavy. Elder Huaxia, Yi Wuxin, and Azura Lidi surrounded Zhuowen in a triangular formation. If it weren't for the fact that Zhuowen had Bai Yu in his hand, the 3 of them would have already attacked. In the process of the deadlock, Zhuowen's main body suddenly transmitted his voice to Moyan and Bai Yang, causing Moyan and Bai Yang, who were originally watching the battle, to raise their brows and deeply look at Zhuowen. Just a moment ago, Zhuowen had told Moyan and Bai Yang about the identity of the Devil Dao youth. He could feel that Moyan and Bai Yang didn't have any malice towards him. Even if it was the Devil Dao clone, he didn't see any malice from Moyan and Bai Yang. In addition to his relationship with Moyan Wushang, Zhuowen finally confessed to Moyan and Bai Yang because he needed the help of experts. With his current lineup, it would be difficult for him to face Mufeng and the others. Zhuowen, are you suspecting that Grandmaster Mu Feng's intentions are not pure? Why are you so suspicious? Moyan and Bai Yang frowned and asked. It's just a kind of intuition. Although this intuition doesn't seem to be reliable, I still feel that there's something wrong with Grandmaster Mu Feng. Therefore, I don't plan to hand over the key to him, Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Moyan and Bai Yang frowned slightly. Grandmaster Mu Feng was the only heavenly arcanist master in the outer court. They were extremely respectful towards the latter. Now that Zhuowen was suspecting Grandmaster Mu Feng, Moyan and Bai Yang felt rather uncomfortable in their hearts. Zhuowen, let's not talk about this matter anymore. I won't leak our conversation. However, Grandmaster Mu Feng has contributed a lot to the outer court. I don't believe that he would harm us. Perhaps you're thinking too much. Moyan and Bai Yang's voice became somewhat uncomfortable. After they finished speaking, they ended the transmission with Zhuowen. Zhuowen's expression became extremely gloomy. It seemed that Grandmaster Mu Feng's prestige in the outer court was very high. Even Moyan and Bai Yang were completely leaning towards Grandmaster Mu Feng's side. However, Zhuowen also knew that his intuition was not persuasive. It was already extremely benevolent for Moyan and Bai Yang to not fall out with him on the spot. At this moment, Zhuowen of the demonic way was slowly retreating under the pressure of Elder Huaxia and the other two. He had almost retreated to the edge of the palace world. If he were to take another step back, he would have to face the demoness and the thousands of demon soldiers in the outside world. Swoosh! The instant Zhuowen of the demonic way tightly knitted his brows, a piercing sound suddenly rushed over from outside the palace world. Soon after, it wildly howled behind him. An intense ominous feeling rose in Zhuowen's heart. This ominous feeling shrouded his heart, causing him to tremble in fear. Not good, retreat quickly. With a low cry, Zhuowen of the demonic way suddenly turned around. Immediately, he saw a wisp of black chi violently rushing over from outside the palace world behind him like a black lightning bolt. In an instant, it arrived in front of him. Soon after, he discovered that the black chi was actually rushing towards the spot between his eyebrows. Damn it! What is this thing? Zhuowen of the demonic way angrily roared. Without any hesitation, he directly used Bai Yu as a life-saving shield in front of him. The pitiful Bai Yu felt the swift and fierce black chi rushing towards him. His eyes widened and his body struggled like a fish out of water. However, he was unable to break free and could only helplessly watch as the wisp of black chi rushed towards the spot between his eyebrows. Ah! Bai Yu let out a blood-curdling scream and immediately fell to the ground. Zhuowen of the demonic way's pupils shrank. He immediately threw Bai Yu aside and fled in the other direction. The instant Zhuowen of the demonic way rushed out, Zhuowen of the demonic way took a step forward. Under everyone's astonished gazes, he followed closely behind. As for Lu Hantian, his eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. With a wave of his right hand, he summoned the Yuan Energy Pagoda. After entering the pagoda, he handed it over to Zhuowen of the demonic way. Demonic Eye! Zhuowen of the demonic way roared. Immediately, Zhuowen of the demonic way turned into a demonic eye filled with surging demonic chi and slipped into Zhuowen of the demonic way's forehead. At the same time, Zhuowen of the demonic way headed towards the spiritual elixir palace in the east. After all, the key to the spiritual elixir palace was in his hands. Naturally, he would hide in that palace. Bai Yu! Elder Huaxia of the demonic way suddenly took a step forward and arrived in front of Bai Yu. At this moment, Bai Yu's eyes were rolled up and a strange pitch-black light was faintly emitted from his eyes. White foam was coming out of his mouth as if he was possessed by a demon. It was extremely strange. Trying to escape? It won't be that easy. Master Mu Feng's eyes flickered. With a wave of his sleeve, surging mental energy immediately rushed out. A formless and transparent light barrier rose dozens of meters in front of Zhuowen. This light barrier was extremely thick, as if it was made of the toughest metal. Boom! Zhuowen of the demonic way's head collided with the light barrier. His entire body was pushed back by the powerful impact. His expression instantly became extremely ugly as he stared intently at Master Mu Feng, who was not far away. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.